All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Off Angle. Here we are in for 10, as Dario mentioned last time. I think when you get to the double digits, when you get to that point, maybe it starts to legitimize it a little bit, right? You've put that effort in to hit the 10, so we've made it that far. I think we've kept each other fairly on it at this point, and indeed rolling through the guests. If you're watching live, we've got two in 2 days. Don't know if we'll upload them, back to back or whatever. We'll find out. Depends on what we talk about. But of course, we've got Richard Lewis joining us, which is honestly a little bit of an honor for me. I think that, not to go super deep into it and all that, but I started off a lot of my esports journey kind of watching, trash talk back in the day and that kind of thing. And I think that got me a little bit deeper into everything. And, we've had a bit of an interaction beforehand and everything, but it's good to have you on. I know that...
I was very happy to sign that mouse mat. So, yeah. No, it's good to be here, although you do make me feel old. And I've had a couple of pints tonight. I'm fucking definitely feeling old. So, like I say, you caught me on the hop. I totally forgot we were doing this today because I'm losing my memory. Yeah, it was like out there drinking with the boys, and then let's say Liz Truss went, and then it was like, this is the most ridiculous thing that's happened in the UK in a long time, more ridiculous than Boris Johnson getting elected. So now we've had a prime minister for 44 days.
Yeah.
So I was just like, well, fuck it. We were just drinking and laughing about it, and then I saw Discord on my phone, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm betraying good, kind people once again. So here we are. Here we are to talk about the wonderful world of esports.
Well, yes. I think the less said, the better. I know. Maybe you wanted a bit of an explanation, Darian. Maybe.
Yeah. You say you're not talking about Liz Truss, but I need some. I'm an American. I have zero idea what's happening anywhere, even in my own country. But please tell me why Parliament is literally on fire, figuratively, in a video game. Like, what is going on?
Well, look, Tories are just. I mean, look, it's not just the Tories, but it certainly is the Tories as well. Okay. They're just fucking idiots, aren't they? So, basically what happened was, obviously, we got rid of Boris Johnson. His position became untenable. And he survived the vote of no confidence, but barely, marginally.
Right.
Where the prescribed rule is, if you fail a vote of no confidence, you will leave the party. But also, as it typically happens, if you don't win with a large enough majority, you sort of have to resign as well, because the consensus is they don't want you to lead the party. So Boris Johnson's a twat, and we were basically wrestling and struggling with him for a while. He did a bunch of fucked up shit where it was like, they became the party of kind of sleaze again under him, particularly with all the COVID protocols. He had this millstone around his neck that they had a party, right? They had a party in the middle of the COVID lockdown. And basically what they did is they were sending people out to get suitcases full of booze, bring it back to the offices and party. But this is when, in Britain, we weren't allowed to do that. We weren't allowed to have a party. You couldn't come around my manor. We couldn't have a drink together. In fact, if I had a relative that was dying in hospital, I couldn't go and see him. I couldn't even attend the fucking funeral and all this other nonsense. So obviously the optics of that, pretty bad, right? That they're just having a classic Tory jolly up behind closed doors. So that was the big thing that was kind of around his neck. Certainly he did a lot worse as well. So we get rid of him. We have a fucking leadership kind of contest. And basically they sort of say, I think that person would be good. That person would be good. We'll go with this person. I'm dropping out, blah, blah, blah. We whittle them down. And somehow we ended up with Liz Truss, who was like not a front runner, then just was. And everyone was kind of like scratching their head about that. She gets in. The Queen dies. Liz on Liz action. The Queen dies. Liz Truss then, with our Chancellor, sort of fucks up the economy by basically saying we're going to do this and we're going to give a tax break here and blah, blah. Now we're headed into a recession, almost certainly. And there was backlash against this. She said she was going to change some things. That made her look weak. The Tories are like, fucking hell, we're going to struggle in a general election as it is. And you've just made it even harder for us. So, bam, she resigns as of today. And I don't know who we're going to get now as our next prime minister, but almost certainly it's irrelevant in the long term because Labour will probably win the next general election and we'll end up with Keir Starmer, another cunt. just with a red tie. So there you go. You now know everything.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I think that sums it up quite nicely.
Americans can learn things. Thank you.
And the chat's asleep now.
Well, I don't know, man. I think it's a nice one to kick off with. Well, not a nice one, but a topic to kick off with. At least I just, for me, not to go into it and make it's an esports podcast at the end of the day, but it just kind of I never really understand how they're sort of able to become prime minister so quickly, and all that kind of shit. Where it's not much of the general public voting people in and all that, but we've just had a number of clowns, to be honest, and Brexit with Theresa May beforehand just diminishing and getting worse and worse and worse.
Queen, we've really had a procession of like terrible leaders, haven't we? I mean, it's like
David Cameron just fucked off after calling the referendum. So sure it was going to work.
I never thought I would say it, but David Cameron, a man who literally fucked a pig's head, was better than all of them. Yeah. He's been better than everyone that followed him, which is incredible to think about.
Yeah.
I know Pronogo is looking at me going like, what do you mean he literally fucked the pig's head?
Yeah.
You can Google that in your own time, but that's a real thing.
Black Mirror was real?
Based on reality, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, Black Mirror came first.
Well,
that's the crazy thing. Black Mirror was Charlie Brooker wrote that script about the guy having to fuck a pig to save essentially the in-universe equivalent of Princess Diana. It then came out in the news that David Cameron, while he was in the Bullingdon Club, which is like I think it's the Etonians, isn't it? People who go to Eton have this special club where it's all Tories and people who go on to be like CEOs of big companies, prime ministers, etc. It's all the ultra wealthy kids. When he was doing that, part of his forfeits in the club was he had to put his knob inside a dead pig's head, and this all came out in a book. We just rode with that. That didn't even force him into resignation. That was just another day in Britain. Prime Minister fucking a pig's head, so not a problem.
Yeah.
Well, the more you know. Okay, so at least it's not we're not the only clown show in town, is what I'm hearing.
No, I actually think the last few years have made us way more of a laughing stock than even the Trump era, frankly. In America. So you guys on your side of the water can definitely fucking point and laugh, no doubt about that.
I was going to point and laugh at anybody, ourselves included, anyway. And the one lesson to learn that is esports related is no matter how crazy it gets in esports, no matter how silly and dire it seems, just remember, as soon as you graduate esports and look elsewhere, it's all the same.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, esports is certainly a lot more stupid than politics. So, looking forward to seeing what you've got on the fucking document today. Right?
Yeah, well, so we've done a little bit about buffoonery in the real world. I guess that would segue us quite nicely into a bit of buffoonery. It would seem in the esports world. I think we wanted to talk about this fella who's come out, apparently ESIC employee. It's all allegedly, right? Everything
massively allegedly. Yeah,
it's all allegedly. But he's come out and said that there's all these players in a Jackson article. He did that, and then there was like a follow up from some Turkish publication as well. That's listed lots and lots of people, including Hobbit and Huxley. Basically kind of the whole Copenhagen Flames roster. Bird from Sky for anyone who's been, preying on that guy's downfall. Maybe this will do it for you. But it all seems quite silly. And I think that, that really does sum up where esports has been over the past 2 or 3 months. There's always been something, but I think we've had a massive, especially in the CS side of things, and if you want to extrapolate like Carlos and all that, it obviously affects CS and whatnot. I think that we've had quite a few months of just wildness, really, and confusion and contradiction and all that. But this one is the newest in a somewhat long line of events that's come down, and I don't really know, the state of where the tweets at, where the articles are and everything, just some of the things sort of said, and I'm not really sure. I don't know if we can maybe conject on this a little bit, but when that tweet came out from this Turkish publication, like the esports or the CS arm or whatever of it, there was a few where it was like, this big list, and then a couple of them, I seem to remember like Hobbit being one, where in brackets afterwards it would say assumed, and I'm a bit confused because I figure the whole thing is assumed at this point. There's not really been any evidence other than a guy, obviously, trying to clickbait a little bit. Is where we can put it.
So the first thing to know about that list that came out is that it was created by a CIS website. I think they operate exclusively on VK, which is the Russian equivalent of Facebook. And basically, what they did was the ex-ESIC employee went on a podcast with a guy called Lenin IW, right? And he's a Belarusian CSGO caster, and they talked for 3 hours. And during this 3 hours, this guy just made it was just like Splatoon, just fucking allegations all over the place, But he said these teams are suspicious to me, and then CSGO HS, the CIS publication on VK. They went through each of the teams he said were suspicious and then created a list of players from that roster and then said, bam, he's accused all of these players, which isn't true. He didn't do that. Okay. For example, he specifically named some players and said, I am 100% certain these people fixed matches. But then he said about the Copenhagen Flames roster, he said, this team wins at LAN but loses online. That's very strange. And CSGO HS took that and said he's accused all 5 of the Copenhagen Flames roster of cheating, which he hasn't done. And then the Turkish publication, eSport or something, I can't remember what the fuck it was called.
Colic, I think eSport Colic.
eColic, Christ, they're giving me fucking colic, mate. eColic, they wrote the whole fucking list out across 3 tweets, an account that hasn't even tweeted in a month, and just got a ton of engagement because people are retweeting it. And of course, it's, look, the thing you got to know about the ESIC guy is, I'm sure some of his suspicions are in the right place. We all know online CS is a fucking sewer, and we know tier 2 and below is utterly corrupted beyond anything people can even fathom. Like, people don't realize how bad it actually is. Not even organizations like Sport Radar know how bad it actually is. They're saying like, oh, we think like 1 in 100 games might be fixed. Like, really? Are you fucking serious, bro? Like, let's scale that up a little bit. So I'm not saying this ex-ESIC employee doesn't have some good suspicions and, like he's pointing at people and they might be guilty. But at the end of the day, if you call out every fucking team and every fucking player, someone's going to have done something, right? Like, you're going to get lucky. So the problem you've got here, unfortunately, is he's gone off half-cocked because he's frustrated with what's going on in the scene, and then terrible journalism has done the rest. And so that list utterly has to be discounted. Even the ex-ESIC employee, because guess what, guys? Yeah, I'm interviewing him, right? Nothing escapes my attention. He's even said that list isn't accurate. So it's not even his list at this point. The eColic list, which is really from CSGO HS, they're banging on the Turkish publication. It's not even their fault. They didn't originally create it. You just ignore it. It's just garbage. It's just noise. That's all it is.
I did, however, like the line that was attributed to this ex-ESIC employee where he said that Relog Media has a monopoly on fake rigged tournaments. That was good. My biases, Rich. You know how I've been trying to hold these people's feet to the fire for a while now, especially with the whole. If you think back long enough, the whole time like VP enters into this CIS tournament, and it's like, oh, you guys own the team and the tournament that's running the bracket, and then somehow they get like a at best 1 in 42 chance to get this, it's not inconceivable that it happens, but they happen to get the best one out of 42 potential transformations.
Look, there's all sorts of stuff that goes on with that, but look, again, the ESIC employee's not wrong in what he's pointing at with grid and relog. We all know that right now the biggest problem you've got is that data operators and gambling sites need a clean feed. which they have to have it for, they say integrity reasons. It's ironic, really.
Yeah.
But also, if you want to rip the data in real time and do live odds, you have to have a clean feed, right? You have to have a clean feed. And then if people get access to this clean feed, guess what? The minimum you can do with that is beat the bookies. But what's happening is players are getting these clean feeds. Teams are paying to gain access to these clean feeds, and they use it as essentially a radar hack, because in real time you can see where everyone is on the map. And obviously, without naming names, because I think you have a responsibility to own, there's got to be a high evidentiary standard if you're going to make allegations like this. But there's certainly been at least one scandal in 2021 that was very high profile, where absolutely, in my professional opinion, as I consider myself an expert in integrity issues in esports. Fuck's sake, I work for a university teaching it now. I'd like to think I've got some credibility in that field. If you were to ask me, I would absolutely say 100% that's exactly what was going on there. And it does go on, especially in a lot of lesser tournaments where people aren't really paying attention. So again, the ex-ESIC employee, Yarabo, I believe is the name he's been operating under. He's pointed to a very valid area of concern. The problem is he is saying this is 100% happening, and these are 100% the teams that are doing it. And guys, I'm sorry, we've got to see hard evidence, or I can't come along for the ride, and nobody else should.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the difficulty of it, right? Like I've worked, not for a while now, but a couple. I did one with Keith, and there was a team in there that had been sort of blacklisted from other events and whatnot, and it was a little bit strange. And you kind of watch them, and you're on broadcast. You have to remain professional, which is apparently some advice that some commentators need out there. It just kind of. If afterwards, you finish and you have your little post-mortem call or whatever, and it just feels a bit strange. And there are sometimes, some tournaments, some teams in particular, that it just feels a bit off. You can't quite put your finger on it, but it doesn't. And there's when you've watched, and look, I don't play. I've never played to a particularly high level, but when you watch, even as just a Twitch chat armchair analyst or whatever, you watch enough games, you can kind of figure out how a game ends up in this state, or how an upset happens or whatever. And I think that sometimes there are these teams where the anybody beats anybody argument can maybe only go so far, right? So but it is ultimately, like I've just kind of alluded to, right? You can't go out there and say, in the same way that you can't go out there and say, wow, this young up and coming 17-year-old who's really sick is probably cheating. I can't go and say that on broadcast, right? And
well, you can if you're a player. Players get away with everything. Obviously, we've seen it multiple times where young players come through and they are accused of cheating. Rops, Dewey 2K, two notable examples, but I feel any young player goes through a crucible, and nobody ever says these pros were out of pocket for.
No, Nico was doing it to Glaive with the whole smoke bug thing too. Yep. So that's those guys were well into their careers when that kind of thing was starting.
Yeah, what the last couple of weeks has taught me with the config thing is that broadcast talent and casters and journalists are all held to a ridiculously high standard, whereas players can literally do what they want, literally, and be supported for doing it. I think about how for 7 years I've been, turned into some sort of fucking pariah for defending myself from somebody who wanted to beat me up, attempted to intimidate me, tried to headbutt me, and it was witnessed by multiple people who all, in a conspiracy, told lies about it, and then admitted years later, sorry, we just had to throw you under the bus because the team that guy played for was owned by Twitch. Right, so I've had to deal with that for 7 years. Meanwhile, Config is a fucking drunk prick who goes to events and fucking starts grief with people, which is now in the public domain, and everyone's like, "Hope he turns his life around." Yeah, well, where was that energy for me, you cunts? So, players get away with fucking murder. Probably it's only a matter of time before that's literally true. So, it's ridiculous. Like, players can just accuse others of cheating. They do it all the time. Think about all this stuff. I'm thinking of it might have been, again, I can't remember the exact details, but you talked about Bird from Sky earlier. Seen a number of pros call him out as well. There's no proof, no evidence at all. Just a guy you don't know playing well. So yeah, not a lot of love for evidence-based discussion in the professional players community.
No, well, we draw parallels to obviously Vax sucks and those sorts of conspiracy angles or whatever. But how long do you have to be staring at a clip of somebody doing something that you deem to be suspicious in the direction of match fixing before you are literally the same thing as the people who are doing that for his crosshair wiggled a little bit, that must have been a hack. Maybe it's a bit more obvious in some cases. Obviously, it's a bit reductive, but still, it's like if that's the evidentiary standard that you're trying to hold yourself to, you're off the plot already. It feels like you can't make up your mind based on as damning as it might seem. Like you weren't there with the comms and you don't know what was going on. Like there could have been any number of things. Obviously, maybe some clips are more obvious than others, but again, it's just you don't want to get into the territory where that's your only standard of evidence. Unfortunately, that's like some of the only stuff that you'll ever see publicated, right? It's literally the plays that are happening on the tournament. So the average person is not going to look any deeper than that. If they're interested in this to begin with, to start looking at clips, that's probably as deep as they're going to go. So unfortunate, really.
Yeah, and I think it's a balancing act because, again, much like this ex-ESIC employee guy, I share a lot of his frustration. I've talked about it before. The standard to win over the community is ridiculously high. You think about every story I've ever published, according to the majority of the community at any given moment, is wrong. It's a lie. Richard's lying this time. Never has before. Never been wrong before, but this is the time. This is the time I've decided to completely surrender my reputation, my life's work, and I'm going to lie this time because you like the team or the player or whatever it is. And it's like, listen, it's like with the North American match fixing thing. We all know who did it. We like, it's there. We've got betting data. We got the demos. In some cases, chat logs, weird
voice
suspicious tweets, voice recordings. It's still not enough. Still not enough. So what's the point? The bottom line is the only way you catch anyone in esports and get it over with the community is they have to be at the scene of the crime, stood over the body with the knife in the hand. Otherwise, no one's coming along for the ride with you. It's just a waste of time. I think a good example of that is the Hobbit story I worked on, and nobody cares. Like no one even talks about it now, right? Like it was a waste of time. There's some
the last time I heard anything about it was basically a little bit after the article was released. And then they were like, "Oh, look, they didn't make the playoffs of the major," and was it because this article came out? Like
there's
somehow
some
that
really compelling evidence there as well, and it's like we've fallen into this trap, just esports wide, where because ESIC exists, everyone is now using ESIC not as an investigatory body, but as an excuse to not do their own investigations. In fact, I've had this problem. I talked about it with ESL, who, by the way, fuck them. ESL do not care about match fixing at all. Like I'll be publishing a story soon about that. But I've talked to them directly about it, and they go, we can't investigate because we, as per our agreement, have to defer to ESIC. And it's like, it's your league, motherfucker. These are your games. This is your integrity. Yes, it'd be great if ESIC could do it all, but if they can't, maybe you should. Maybe you should stop passing the buck. But no, ESL do it, ESEA do it, Blast have done it. And I don't even think they're officially a member, although I could be wrong. It's a nonsense. And so, the existence of ESIC has actually sort of hindered us a little bit because they're woefully ill-equipped to investigate all of the corruption we've got in esports. They're so short-staffed. And as we're seeing with the ex-ESIC employee who was only there for 3 months and is now talking out of school, and, they're telling me, ESIC are telling me, this guy, the reason he's having a tantrum now publicly is because we said, listen, mate, there's got to be evidence for these allegations. It can't just be a guy told you in a bar that this guy fixed the game. We need more than that. And so he's having a tantrum now. But yeah, look, we need a competent investigatory body, and it needs to be backed by the games developers. And until we get that, esports is a joke. It's a joke. It's an actual joke. You can't trust any of the games in Tier 2 anymore. You can't if there's a tournament, a cup you've never heard of, like for a brand, you don't even know who's running it. Probably, I'd say conservatively, 50% of the matches in that tournament are fixed. That's where we're at now, you know? If you know, you know.
Well, think about also the idea behind the initial posts that were from this ex-ESIC employee. I mean, one of the things that he used to try to rally the community into this sort of fever pitch was ESIC are terrible, and I already the community already thinks that, or they already have a low opinion of them. So if I just reinforce their pre-existing biases that they're doing nothing and that there can't possibly be a reason for it. I mean, I'm as frustrated as anybody that they're slow going with it and that they're under-equipped, but you know, there's more to it than meets the eye than just they're terrible. They ignored. I would imagine they're not just actually.
It slows an understatement, to be fair. You know, like the North American match fixing scandal, I think was meant to be. It was 2 weeks away in like March last year. You know, when we're nearly in 2023, guys. You know, so yeah. I mean, slow is really downplaying it. And again, I don't think he's wrong to criticize ESIC, especially as someone that's been in the apparatus. Although I think he's an incredibly biased narrator, and people should know that before they listen to his claims, you know, uncritically. But yeah, ESIC, you know, they don't have credibility, particularly in that region, which is one of the big regions where you need to combat match fixing. I'm talking about Russia, you know, I'm talking about Ukraine, you know, the CIS states. You know, those that's where we know there's a number of, like, you know, unlicensed betting sites, cryptocurrency sites that allow you to fucking have anonymous accounts. Like, that's a new thing. We just place anonymous bets on rigged games, no problem. In crypto, good luck catching those cunts. So, you know, it's like ever since, because ESIC jumped the gun on a few things, like they did with the Team Spirit coach Hallie, and you know, Team Spirit came out and was like, "Who is the ESIC? You know, who are these guys? Guys that you literally asked to investigate Akuma and signed a fucking letter demanding ESIC investigate Akuma. You know who they are, and don't tell me it was a fucking figure of speech and blah blah blah. You know, you're trying to make out these guys have no authority, no credibility, and yet you appealed to their credibility and said, we need, literally in the letter they signed, it said we want a credible investigative authority like ESIC, like word for word. So, you know, but ever since that, because ESIC have fucked up a few investigations now, and also, I mean, listen, the one that ends it for them, the headshot where they'll never have any credibility in the CIS region in Ukraine ever again, is if they even touch this spot fixing thing, which Na'Vi did. You know, with the M429 purchase to promote their fucking sponsor, GGBet, who we now know isn't even just their sponsor. They did a secret under the table deal to essentially hand over ownership, according to, like, fucking, you know, credible publications. So, and people have looked at it, and all the paperwork even sort of lines up, saying it's the same body that represents, you know, the owner of GGBet and now Na'Vi. So, you know, look, we just got a ton of problems. Like, we just got a ton of problems, and we're not dealing with it. And ESIC can't deal with it. And ESIC did the worst thing ever when they rolled back some of their earlier punishments, and that was, you know, they showed weakness. You know, if like the whole thing about ESIC was it was a magic trick. You were convincing the scene that they had authority, and that people would listen to them and people would enact what they want. And that was held up by all of their members and Valve agreeing that, yes, you do indeed have that authority now. But they fucked up and they've walked things back. And so everyone goes, who is the ESIC? You know, do they even have that credibility? And it turns out, no, not anymore. So you've got a real problem in the CIS region that even if they were to get into the weeds now, ESIC, they wouldn't be listened to out there. They'd just be told, go fuck yourself. So I don't know how you overcome that problem. I don't even think you can. The only thing that can be done, unfortunately, now is leagues and tournament operators, the ones that ostensibly care, right? Not the ones where it's like we know exactly what's going on in your little online cup, But the tournament operators that are meant to be the highest level of the game and care about their reputation and all that stuff, they have to start investigating this stuff themselves instead of covering it up themselves, which is what happened to me, like I say, it's already written. It'll be out in a few weeks, and I will be keeping to the deadline, unlike ESIC. I tried to notify several bodies about match fixing, and they basically told me to stick it up my ass, and actively told people I was about to interview not to talk to me. How do it's a rigged game, guys.
Well, I don't know. Are we in for some kind of cascade? This is a very broad question, really, that I've just kind of thought of in the sense that, we've got CSPPA, we've maybe got, flat broadcasts in some areas.
PPA's dead.
Teams, well, that's what I mean. Like, there's a whole myriad of things, the sort of the online mob maybe forcing things to get squeaky clean and, no controversy, maybe interesting characters, therefore, even down to just like a smooyer or whatever, even just being a little bit outspoken, that kind of thing. I don't know if he's been a gold mine on his stream recently, but
he's always good value, always good value.
Indeed. But I feel like are we in a period of just sort of sitting through things, and this is how we don't do things, and then hopefully we learn and overcome, and some people come along, or
the scene has been in since the start of skins gambling in 2014. Sure. This is the worst it's been.
It's the worst I've seen, for sure.
Yeah, we've got rampant match fixing all through tier 2 with hardened match fixers now that have been emboldened by the fact that they've done it brazenly and not been caught, and seemingly that we don't even have the apparatus to catch them. So you've got that problem. We now also have the rise of agencies that are doing all kinds of shady shit behind the scenes. We're getting back to 2015 bullshit contracts. So we got that. Even becoming a pro is a problem. We got North American owners that just want to franchise the fuck up with big games developers, and they won't support any game they can't instantly be number one in overnight. But also, spoiler, they get bored after fucking 2 years and just go to the next thing because they're American and they ain't got a fucking attention span. So we do that. What else have we got that's fucking everything up right now? I mean, we've got developers that are becoming increasingly cynical about what esports actually offers them, because we're starting to see the bubble hasn't burst. It's just starting to deflate. We're going to see the collapse of the Overwatch League in the next year or two. We're seeing salaries decrease. It's no longer sustainable. We're seeing sponsorships and marketing budget decrease. We haven't even hit the recession yet. That's coming. And when we hit a recession, spoiler, esports always struggles in a recession. I know. I've seen it twice now. Twice, and I'm going to see it a third time. I'm going to live through 3 bubbles bursting because I'm an old man. So, that's coming around the corner, and we're all marketing. We're smoke and mirrors. So all the people that are engaged in corruption to make money now, that gets turbocharged in a recession. So I don't know what I don't know what to tell people. Like, if you think it's not as bad as what I'm saying, then just wait. Because, and trust me, we're not all of the people doing all of the bad things. The community themselves have made it abundantly clear you've got no interest in nailing these people to the wall. So, fine, I guess. I guess this is just what esports is now. And of course, how can I forget? The lack of money will also turn esports operators into the people that have got the blood money. It's only a matter of time before you've got, literal warlords operating leagues and ladders. It won't just be Saudi Arabia and China. Give it a few years. It won't just be Qatar. It won't just be the United Arab Emirates. But I mean, essentially, almost every esport and every games development company is going to be owned by these types of entities, by tyrannical regimes. That's the future. It's happening now. It's not theoretical. So I don't know, man. I mean, I think esports is just a steaming pile of shit. It's not what I built. It's not what I fought for years. I don't know how anyone can enjoy it with a clear conscience. And increasingly, it's becoming just a space for dishonest operators to milk profits out of young adults who don't know any better. It's really bad. Like, I can't even find a positive, honestly, in all of it. So, yeah.
The only positive would be that it gets to a point where it is so bad, and that you have to have some sort of optimistic outlook, I guess, that the fact that people who are not very impressive people as people will not produce impressive products, and thus somehow that will leak into the end result of the viewer or the audience in general, who are going to say,
that can't work in
this isn't good. This isn't good, right? Yeah.
It cannot work in the market economy we have now, where Saudi Arabia doesn't buy ESL because it wants to have a successful esports league.
Right.
It wants access to young hearts and minds, so it can essentially make you complicit with what they do domestically and obfuscate what they do domestically and internationally. Of course, if we look at the humanitarian crisis in Yemen, they want to make you complicit with it early. They want to obfuscate it early. So they need hearts and minds to be okay with it, and so that's why they occupy it. So you see, having a shit product, which ESL absolutely 100% is. Every time I watch an ESL broadcast, it's a fucking embarrassment, frankly, that they're $1 billion company and they can't even get the right lower third, or the green screen looks like shit, or whatever, I'd be ashamed to put my name to that product. But what happens there is ESL obviously now are just going to be able to occupy that territory. And nobody can challenge them because they've got more money than everybody else. I mean, like this is, I can't remember what it's called, but there's like an economic phenomenon where basically you're wealthy and your opponents are wealthy, but you're wealthier and you bleed out slower and you wait for them to die in the marketplace. Then you acquire their territory, rinse and repeat until you're a functional monopoly. Esports has been
Amazon, basically. That's what Amazon has done in their own sector.
Esports has been operating on that economic principle for a long, long time. And so we're starting to see that pay dividends now. So ESL will serve you a shit product and you will like it because it's all there is. And they can keep doing it because the people that want to create the better product, well, we stopped Blast getting their sponsors, right? We objected to the Neom deal and made them stop. But when it came to Saudi Arabia and boycotting ESL, we all went, ownership's different to sponsorship, bro. Yeah, it's fucking worse. Yeah, you're right. It is different, yeah. So, unfortunately, all that happens is you have a choice now as a tournament operator. You either take the corrupt blood money and know if you don't, your opponents in the marketplace will. And then once that's all been decided, who's got the money and who ain't, the people who ain't, they die. And then the people who do, they're under no obligation whatsoever to serve you a quality product, because where else can you go? You can't go anywhere else. I can't watch a world class what's all in, like, for a CS tournament. What have I got? I got Blast and ESL, right? Do you remember what it was like in 2015?
A lot more opportunities right there.
We got
DreamHack,
StarLadder,
CS
yeah, exactly. Loads. Yeah. I could not watch ESL even with them occupying as much of the calendar as they did, and still see a really high quality tournament every month from somebody else. Can't do that no more. It's Intel Extreme Masters and Blast, and trust me. Wait until I'm right about this. Blast and ESL will merge. ESL will get bored of having to play nice in the sandpit, because remember, it's still all the same managers. It's all the same cunts. They're just propped up with ruthless blood money now. So they never played nice before. Why are they going to do it now, right? So you watch. They'll play in the sandpit for a little bit because the community, they're there, aren't they? Every Reddit thread. Give us feedback. Yeah, what's the point? Like, you don't listen to any of it. You still can't get the audio in sync, you cunts. All the feedback in the world ain't going to change that. But eventually they'll buy Blast. Then they'll merge with Blast, and they'll do that to get the production. But then what have we got? We've got one show in town at that point. And I'm telling you, when we do get to that, then anything you object to, it's all irrelevant at that point. We will allow CS to get to the point of being a monopoly. Valve are clearly giving up on esports. They've had enough. They're even having enough with Dota these days. They're sick of community backlash against them, and they're just going to palm it off to people like PGL. Look at TI right now. It looks like fucking shit. This is where we're going to get to. Esports is going to be run by a handful of operators. The product will be garbage, and you'll just have to like it and lap it up. And you know what? Like I've been telling us we'd get there for years, and nobody listened, and now we're here. And like, listen, I don't care. I just don't care anymore. Like, so it's not going to affect me. Like, but all the fans, they sort of deserve it. I got to be honest. Y'all wouldn't pay the price of a Twitch sub to pay-per-view to prop up an independent company. So fuck you. You reap what you sow. These people aren't worth fighting for. They get what they deserve. They'll learn the hard way.
It probably doesn't shock you, but it did a little bit shock me to see people who were responding to other people. I know Reddit is a bit of a, small slice of a big pie, but a vocal minority, you could say. But still, when people were like, this is what esports blood money gets us, this quality product. And then everybody in the bottom is like, what? Why are you even talking about that? What's even the relevance? It's like, bro, what do you mean? So yeah, that was...
How's it relevant? They've just been bought for $1 billion. All right, guess my bad, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's difficult for me to talk about because my whole kind of concern getting into this, just the industry and the job and was the, funny enough, we had a bit of a joke about him before. But the first clip that I saw, it was of D-Man, and I think it was like TSM Wild Turtles' first game or some shit, and he got an ace or a pentakill in League of Legends, and I was kind of like, I think this is what I want to do, and that it's a great moment. You can't knock the guy. It's good commentary, maybe bless him in his future years, but and now it's becoming increasingly kind of difficult, to sort of swallow and deal with everything that's sort of thrown at you, and because the thing is as well, it's like it's kind of hard to work with these companies already, and figure out what's going on, and a lack of contracts, a lack of communication, so that kind of breeds, I can definitely speak into the idea of broadcast being flat. I think it's because we had Moses on and we talked about it quite a bit, and I'm sure it's not the first time people have heard this, but they're trying, and there are little bits, and eventually the nudging works, and they'll maybe get a little piece of content or whatever. But we have things, massive faults with that, but things like the LEC kind of blows out of water in that sense, and so it just kind of keeps piling up and adding on and making it more and more difficult that maybe you don't at my stage it's more how to get in, how to and it's not that easy, right? But like what more can I do, what can I change, is my style good, is my duo good, do I need someone that works, and so you have all those kinds of issues where communication, and it's funny because maybe it's not this simple and it's going to take a bit of time or whatever, but it doesn't feel like they've been bought out for $1 billion as well.
No, look, my understanding, talking to my sources, is they haven't actually got their hands on any of that cash.
Right. Yes, yeah.
Cleared. Yeah, and like, listen, obviously I know that. I'm still going to bang on you for being $1 billion company, and your product looking like shit. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck whether on which bank account it's in, what credit card you're putting it on. I don't care. Like, that's not my concern. That's your concern. You fucking sold out for $1 billion. You took that money. You said yes to that offer. That's the label you go around with. It's like, it's like Harry Maguire. You're a £90 million defender. Not your fault, but you better not be dog shit. Turns out you are. So now you're getting banged on twice as hard because you're the most expensive defender in the world and you can't even tackle someone properly. So that's how it works. That's the nature of the beast. I'm so sick of these ESL pricks walking around feeling sorry for themselves. Meanwhile, they send that guy whose name I can't even remember, I think it begins with an M. He's on Reddit after every tournament, and that motherfucker gets lit up. He gets lit up in the comments. They send out a pleb intern, essentially. Sorry if you're not a pleb intern, mate. I'm trying to. I'm being cruel while I'm trying to be kind there. But they send out a guy who's obviously just like some low-level dude, and he goes on Reddit and goes, "Hey guys, hey future pros." It's not even him. You know, they do that, right? And he says, "Fucking listen, we'd just love to get some feedback. Could you fill in this survey?" And everyone in the comments are like, "Why are you on the player cams? Why'd you keep cutting away at the end of a fucking round? How many times? How many times are you going to be told this? These are basics. These are basics. Will you just watch a Blast broadcast once and do it like that, please?" And this guy's going, "Haha, yeah, we are going to fix that." And people are just savaging this kid. He's calm as wrecked. He's downvoted to shit. It's terrible. You know, it's like, but that's what you get. Because the expectation is there now. And ESL ain't delivered on it since they sold out. And it's like I say, if you're going to sell out to an evil, tyrannical regime, at least make your shit righteous. At least make your product good. Like, you know what I mean? You've done it now. You're evil now, right? Like, so put something good out into the world at least. No, you're not even going to do that. All right, brilliant. Well, they're idiots. ESL, man. Yeah. Just incompetent.
It's the same idea as like if you didn't know which tournament organizer was like the scrappy underdog with a little bit of government money versus the one who's got all the Saudi money. You'd think Blast is the one with all the Saudi money. Is look at their product by comparison, right? Like their formats are whack or whatever. But come on. Yeah. And then you compare that. I don't know. That's just wild to me. Obviously, the weirdest thing to me is not that ESL haven't yet been able to actualize and take the money and use it to fuel the product, if that's even what they're going to do with the money, for all I know. What's weird to me is that they appear to have regressed and gotten significantly worse, markedly, noticeably worse, since before the deal was announced. As if, like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know any of the details, but it's almost as if they had like a mass exodus of people behind the scenes who were like, I'm not going to work for this money. As far as I know, that didn't happen. But that's basically what it looks like. It looks like now they just got all these amateur hour people who, maybe that if this were a relog tournament or something and they were this was one of their first gigs, it would be justifiable. But this is not supposed to be the standard that they're held to. So it is a bit whack. It is a bit
whack. I mean, and look, it's just part of like, the problem we've got right now is I just don't think anyone cares anymore, like about what it is esports is meant to be and what it is we're meant to be doing. This is the key symptom in all of the problems. We don't fix the match fixing because nobody really cares. It's just don't think about it. It's happening, but whatever. We don't have a great product. No one really cares. It's fine. We don't protest, evil regimes coming in and owning, all of our esports toys, all of our favorite leagues, our favorite teams. Just don't think about it. It's fine. We turn a blind eye to North American orgs essentially exploiting the crisis in Ukraine, the invasion of Ukraine, by doing all these underhand dealings to get players who play for orgs that we were meant to be sanctioning, right? I remember that. Oh, yeah, I thought we were sanctioning them. Oh, by the way, on the subject of sanctions, don't worry about it, guys. 1xBet sponsors ESL. A literal Russian gambling company owned by Russians. Russians, by the way, who were wanted in Russia, apparently, if you go and look up the names. Yep. Don't worry about it. Nobody cares. Like, nobody cares about any of this shit. Like, one of the guys I work with at Deserto, I'm sure people know, Lewis Mira. He was covering a story on 1xBet, I think, and he wrote, he asked for comment from ESL and said like, "Is 1xBet still your sponsor? And if so, what's going to be happening with it?" And blah blah. And they just sent back like a 1-sentence answer. Yes, we are very pleased. We're very pleased to have 1xBet as a partner, and long may that continue. And just some bullshit like that, and it's like, well,
there are no changes going to be happening, something like that, basically.
Yeah, nobody cares.
Well, that's the thing is, on one last point on the ESL Blast thing that you did mention, Rich, is that you think that it's likely that they're going to merge. I won't say, like, it could just be coincidence. Obviously, Blast hasn't run a major since their entrance into CSGO, but we're going from ESL major to Blast major. And that means that there's not going to be a tier 1 event held by any other company for probably 2 full calendar years, right? Or at least like most of 2 full years.
Well, I mean, who knows how? Like, I don't know how that's going to pan out, but I mean, one thing I'll definitely say is, You know, the Rio Major is going to disappoint people. I am certain of that. Certainly won't disappoint the Brazilian community. Seems almost entirely catered to them, and that's fine, I guess. But I think, you know, I'm like, okay, ESL can't get a broadcast right when it is in their fucking studio.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, as somebody that's worked on events for many, many years on all different jobs and all different levels, even ran a few of my own at a company in Vegas. Let me tell you, it's a lot harder to go to a stadium in a foreign country where you're going to outsource labor and have a smooth running event. There are going to be all sorts of problems, and they for me, they really need to get Rio right. I think taking a temperature check behind the scene, ESL really pissed people off by what they did with the Saudi deal. And again, I'll just say it explicitly. People don't like it. Just sue me. Just come get me. I really don't give a fuck. I'll say you all in court, right? But here's what they did. And I know they did this. I talked to people behind the scenes. They knew the Saudi deal was going to go ahead, so they rushed and wrapped up all of their shit before the Saudi deal closed. So I'm talking that GG for All League. They rushed that through. I'm talking the Intel sponsorship. They rushed that through. Intel, obviously. We helped found AnyKey. We care about human rights. We are now partnered with Saudi Arabia. How the fuck does this look? Right? And you can put them as the head of the UN fucking Human Rights Council as many times as you like, right? For comedy banter, but it doesn't change how they treat their citizenry. And then, of course, obviously, they rushed through the deal with Valve as well. They said, hey, look, let's go to Rio. We'll do it. Here's the deck. And Valve said, yeah, we like this. And then they announced the deal that was already in the works. So, you know, like my temperature check is ESL pissed off a lot of people doing it that way. And I don't know when ESL will next get a major, you know, especially if they fuck this one up, which they're on course to do. So, you know, you tell me. I mean, put it this way, maybe not. Maybe it doesn't even matter anymore because of where Valve are with esports. Because obviously, the fact that they're letting PGL run their TIs is an abomination. You know, it's really sad to see what TI has become. And I know I said the Dota community hates me, like many communities, but I'm sad to see that PGL just have this uncritical support where they just get to run TI and it just looks like a shadow of itself now. So yeah, I mean maybe not, but I think ESL are under immense pressure for Rio, especially as we go into Blast and the contrast is going to be very evident. And then after that, who knows? Who knows who's going to get it? I mean, there's all this talk behind the scenes about China getting a major, but that can't be true because of what they're doing domestically with their rules and laws around esports and gaming and how they're having a big conservative push right now. You know, taking effeminate TV hosts off TV because it's corrupting the youth. This is all shit you can go and read about. So I can't believe that's true. And then the question is, who's going to do it? Where are we going to do it? And unfortunately, there's about 2 or 3 people that can bid for majors these days. I think probably on a long enough time scale, we might just not even have majors at all.
I was going to say, that might be my next prediction, if you will, is that, well, I mean, the dream would be Valve just comes in and says, due to the partnership of ESL and Saudi Arabia, we are rejecting ESL's license to host Counter-Strike tournaments. And then the problem doesn't get solved exactly, but that would be a dream. And I say dream because we can't even get Valve to update the fucking game. So I don't know. They're not changing the map pool, let alone changing.
Listen, what I will say about the CS focus team at Valve, I know from talking to them, they really do care about the game and they really love the game. And they've been doing it for 20 years or 22 years or whatever we're on now. And, you know, it's the same people, right? Like, but it's just a small team. And Valve is entering into a very interesting phase of its life cycle as a company. You know, they're making hardware, they're nailing VR, they're nailing the Steam Deck. And, you know, I think, yeah, like it's a company with a few hundred employees. And they're gonna, I think that is probably not true now globally, but it was. You know, they probably scaled it massively. I'm living in the past, but anyway, you know, it's a relatively small company compared to other, you know, large companies in America in terms of how many people they employ, and you get to pick what you want to focus on. It's always going to operate like that. They are never going to change their corporate structure, certainly not for esports, certainly not to prioritize esports. And they're going to focus on things that they're interested in at any given moment and things that make them money. And, you know, I don't know why people in esports, you can beat your chest and say, like, oh, why don't they care about the games? I mean, fuck, man. We had a good run with Valve, like way better than almost any other company. You know, like TI's amazing for Dota, Majors for CS, got turbocharged by the stickers in the cases. You know, yeah, it created a bunch of other problems. But I mean, you know, we've had like two really, really good and healthy esports scenes from the same company without them sticking their fingers in the gumbo and saying, you know, the Thorin can't be in a broadcast, Richard can't be in a broadcast, this player doesn't get to play. You know, Activision Blizzard do that, Riot do that. Some of your favorite players, by the way, they wouldn't be allowed to have Simple couldn't have had a career if he played League of Legends.
Yeah.
So so you know, we had a really good run with Valve. I just feel it's winding down, and you know, look, it's not the fucking end of the world. Like esports just isn't. Esports was always going to get to this place. I just thought it was going to take 50 years, not 20. You know, we were always going to end up a corporate toy. We were always going to end up mainstream garbage. It just happened a lot faster than we thought it was going to. And once we come out the other side of the impending recession, we'll see where we are. But the bottom line is, yeah, I think that's a solid prediction. I think majors probably get shelved, or we end up getting one a year, you know, or something like that. Because there's not really there's not really any benefits to Valve to keep doing this stuff. So yeah, I don't know, man. I'm sorry, I'm depressing everybody, but it's just like this is just where we're at with esports. I'm saying it from someone. I wasn't Gen 1, you know, I was Gen 2 in esports. You know, I got in at the turn of the century when it had already been around for a few years, and it's you know, it's in the worst shape I've seen it since it got past 2006. You know, basically, that was when we took a massive leap from being an amateur pursuit to being taken seriously and getting a lot of money and a lot of investment. And we were on TV and you could have a career doing it. And now we're really struggling. And it's not even a financial thing. It's just like, say, it's nobody cares. It's a lack of priorities. It's a lack of clean money. It's a lack of concern about what product we turn out. It's a lack of concern about integrity issues and other things. And it's just esports is just in the background now for like probably 90% of its audience. It's just there in the attention economy, something to do on weekends. They're not diehards. They don't really care. Like if you took esports away from the average Zoomer, they'll just go fucking vape more. Yeah, like it's. That's the level we're at. It wasn't like that 20 years ago. People fought and fucking clawed to push this boulder up the fucking mountain. And we've just been watching it roll back for 20 years. Whatever.
I mean, yeah, it is difficult, you know, because I just kind of sit here. Obviously, it's a little bit heartbreaking, I think, but you know, I feel like hope is always the one thing. It's just a bit wild. Well, indeed. But
you know what I'm supposed to say when I'm talking to you guys is don't worry, future pros.
Yeah, I know, literally. Yeah.
Don't worry, future pros. You're going to be fine. You'll work in this business for many, many years. Here's the thing: there'll still be jobs. Yeah. They'll just be really unsatisfying ones, sure. And you'll just be working for really bad people who don't give a solitary fuck about you or the positions they put you in. I mean, dude, I'm talking to a lot of casters on the come up right now. You know, I mean, I don't really give a fuck. I took myself off broadcast. You know, who wants to see a fucking fat, bald, you know, mess with a grey beard, right? Like, it's not a great look for esports. I'm not very glamorous. I don't really care about any of that shit. So, you know, I took myself out of that equation. But, you know, I'm talking to all these casters on the come up or whatever, and it's like, you can't even say no to the money. You can't, you know, yeah. Like we talk about it all the time. You can't even say no. Like, you might want to take a stance. You might want to be principled. Well, enjoy going hungry, fucker. Enjoy it. Enjoy not doing what you love. Enjoy yep. not doing what you worked hard to get to do. We had to wait for all us fucking dinosaurs to die out, like the baby boomers, and now you got nothing. So it really fucking sucks. But it's why I don't begrudge people. Like, obviously, you know, I begrudge ESL, but I don't begrudge people who like make it. I can't work with them. My flag is planted. But you know, if you do, I'm not gonna chew you up because, like I say, it's the only show in town. What the fuck are you gonna do?
Yep. To be honest,
you're already taking a massive risk. Just sat there listening to me.
A little bit, yeah.
They're gonna be saying like, "Oh, and Scriv, he was nodding his head."
Yeah.
He was nodding his head. Can we employ Scrivington, Sir Scrivington?
You take the specs off, and then what do you mean?
Yeah,
there?
we're all
true.
good. We're all
We can do that.
Well, we've been going for a good hour, so I think we're in a good spot with it. But yeah, I mean, we touched a little bit on kind of the quality of broadcasting. Maybe we can get into that a little bit deeper, and where it kind of goes and how to maybe get back to a little bit more of, because I think that it's difficult where in the past things were maybe you could argue a bit more entertaining with kind of you guys on a desk, but that's because there was so much fill content and then everyone was pretty comfortable. It was quite natural. And not necessarily like laid back, but I think as compared to, Freya, for example, if you kind of in the space and you talk to other talent and how to, work with a host or whatever, Freya's relatively structured in terms of, wanting to get the best out of the analysts and everything, as far as I understand it. Anyway, I've not, had any direct interactions with her about that, but, it's a bit more regimented, let's say. Whereas, like I say, in maybe your kind of era of doing it, where there was a bit more figuring out, there was a bit more technical delays as well, which kind of helps with that kind of thing. It's a bit looser, and that therefore means that it can kind of go anywhere, and that maybe, in my opinion, I would say is not as good for the flow of the show, let's say, but it is in terms of an entertainment product. It felt like having, you were having a better time, and therefore I'm maybe having a bit of a better time, rather than just kind of host, point, graphic, point, host, graphic, and just kind of the same sort of rigmarole every show day, let's say.
Yeah, but I mean, again, I'll use ESL as an example because, I don't think I can fucking rebuild that bridge. I mean, look, it's not even personal, man. It just is what it is. It's just like, I'm not going to sit here and fucking lie, because they literally offer nothing to me whatsoever. They just exist, as do I. So, look, I watch their shows and I see how it's structured, and it's just terrible. And like, here's how it works on a mainstream sports show in the world of television. Again, got some insight into it. Inside the NBA, used to be right adjacent to where we used to film fucking ELeague. I used to watch what they used to do. I used to talk to fucking EJ and talk to all the show producers on that show, because I was trying to bring ELeague up to the same quality, and they were very gracious with their time. And we had great producers, Emmy award winners, people who produced Super Bowls, like we had, people who produced World Series of baseball. When you're talking on a show, I shouldn't have some cunt in my ear telling me, we're going to get to this now, and it has to be now. And if you don't do it now, we're going to be super pissed off, right? So you're going to have a few spots you've got to hit, sponsor plugs typically, right? But the rest of it should be organic. And there should be some cunt listening to what I say, right? And what the analysts say. And every graphic should be supplemental to that conversation. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. All you have to do is just listen and have stuff ready. And when you do your show meeting, because again, we went backwards in esports, your average pre-production meeting in esports is, we just want to make sure all the casters are out of bed. That's what's really going on. They say, come in for a 7 a.m. call time. You're not on air until 1 o'clock. So you've had 4 hours sleep. You come down, you hit your 7 a.m. call time. We better be doing something with this time. Nah, we just wanted to make sure you weren't drinking the night before. We want to make sure you're out of bed. It's pathetic. And then you sit there and they go, right, so here's your rundown. And it's the same rundown everyone prints off, because no one even knows why they're doing it anymore. And it's just useless blocks in 5 seconds about this. And as if anyone is that precise in anything, right? And then you sit there and you read this document and you go, right, okay, so what are we doing in the show? What supplemental graphics are we going? No. No one has any of that stuff, right? No one has any ideas. Can we create a piece of content? We got 4 hours free. Why don't we make something funny? They don't do it. ESL's getting a little bit better with its skits and stuff. It borrowed a lot from Flashpoint in that regard.
Yep.
But, you know, the bottom line is we're just trash in esports. We're just garbage. We just know we can serve up garbage and the community will accept garbage, and it's all just garbage. And trust me, the broadcast talent despise doing what they're doing. They know it's garbage. No one wants to serve up garbage. But I can't make ESL not do a garbage show. I can't go in as a freelance bit of broadcast and say, I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to do it. And their producers are going to do it their way. And if you give them any back chat, you just don't get hired. So enjoy your garbage. So, but how it should work is every time somebody talks, a graphic comes up that we have pre-prepared. If I'm talking about Simple, here's some highlights of Simple. Just thrown up naturally. I don't need to tag it. I don't need to address it. It's just happening. It's just enhanced the broadcast. I shouldn't have to say, got to stop you there because, DHL, here's the fucking stats of the US Marine Corps. No. It should all be natural. You shouldn't know we even have to hit those things. Like sponsor plugs. Again, go NFL season's on. I urge anyone who wants to see how bad an esports broadcast is, go watch an NFL match and watch how seamlessly everything is just woven in. Right, they have these little moments of downtime between commercials where they have to basically hit like, here's a highlight from the previous play, here's a little sponsor plug, here's what we got coming up on the weekend. It flows seamlessly, and it flows seamlessly because everyone's prepared. It's on point. You wouldn't even know. It feels natural. Sometimes it is natural. You miss a sponsor plug here, not a big deal. I can tell you the equalizer's on in a minute. It's fine. Just let it breathe. Like, let the show breathe. So the shows are regimented garbage. It's the worst type of garbage. It's not even organic garbage. Like back in 2015, 2014, when I first started hosting, the shows were garbage because it was all fill. But we made the fill entertaining. Now it's regimented garbage. It's actually worse. You would have a much better time if you took talented people and just said, talk shit. Like we used to do it. Right, none of our buttons are working. Sound's not working. Servers are down. Phil. And you would just talk for 40 minutes. People like that shit. People skip test segments now. Let's also be real. You watch the viewership. As soon as the game ends, people fuck off. They go get a cup of tea. And and that's sad. That's sad to me. What, you don't care what Maniac or Yanko or Maui Snake's got? You don't care. You should care, but it's not that people don't care. It's that it's boring. It's flat. It's a static 2-shot with an occasional close-up. And maybe if you're lucky, you get a graphic. That's outrageous. That's so behind sports broadcasting. So, yeah, you talk about the quality of broadcast. It's ass. It's actual trash. I'd urge anyone, like, WSOE did not have a long life, right? It was a money job for me. Right, I left ELeague. I was stressed out to fuck. Couldn't handle being threatened to be murdered every weekend by fighting games players, and so I took a job that basically I knew it was going to be a struggle to get the company up and running and be successful, but it was a lot of money, so I took that. Right, and then but look at the shows we did. Look at the shows we did. Look, we did the first ever Red Zone. Like in esports, we had a tournament run. Right? And literally, instead of watching the games on the final day decided, we did a Red Zone broadcast on one of the streams. So all the games being played concurrently, and we were ducking in and out of all of the games and saying, and look, it was a Rocket League tournament. We just scored a winning goal here, and he's just gone, and they've just gone through, and there's the celebrations happening. We were zip, zap, zooping all over the fucking place. It was really high. It was real high level technical shit, and it looked great. Psyonix didn't like it. But it was a great fucking show, and it hadn't been done before. And it's just sad no one wants to fucking innovate. No, like, you don't even have to innovate. Just do what sports are doing. And we can't even get that right. It's pathetic.
Yeah, I think ultimately where a lot of our conversations have circled around is that, the bottom line is indeed important, but I think it's become the focal point of everything, especially in CS, where maybe, because of the lack of sort of game developer interaction, you can't afford, it feels like, and I guess this is the thing, right? Like you're kind of saying, and, I think that we're all sort of acutely aware. I've heard similar even, and I'm not really that far up the chain or whatever, where the money's not yet been activated. But it does feel that although we've got players and LAN, well, not even, like the Blast event going on right now is online. And at the very least, they're being open about that, and they're admitting that, and they're like, oh, here's a little graphic with where's everyone playing from and all that. Are all the players together? Are these guys are boot camping? These guys have got people in Serbia and Spain and whatever, right? So they're making a little bit of something out of it, but it still feels like a lot of these broadcasts are stuck in the COVID era. When it, in a sense, was maybe needed, but now they've gone, okay, well, we've brought this all the way down to the most cost-effective thing, kind of because they maybe had to over the COVID era, and they've stayed there, and it's.
I remember saying this on By the Numbers. I said if we don't put our foot down as like fans, on what we get served in the COVID era will be what we get moving forward, and it was very clear that we basically gave permission to all of these TOs to just do less. And that's why, you look at 2016, 2017, 2018, all the broadcasts look better. Now it's like the new move is you don't even send the broadcast talent to the place the event's happening.
Yeah.
We send them to a studio so they can stand in front of a green screen.
Which isn't like properly keyed out, by the way.
Yeah, which isn't even properly keyed out. And like guys, I hate to say it, like a huge green screen looks like ass, dude.
Yeah.
Like it does not,
especially on that scale. Like you're just not going to be able to get it clean enough.
Like having a little bit of green screen so you can augment a graphic and look, I've got a big 3-dimensional thing on my desk that's not really there. That's fine. Like, but having all green screen looks terrible. Looks like ass. And it's criminally overused, and it's overused in esports because it's fucking cheap. And our product looks cheap.
It's more costly, which is why it won't happen, at least not for this foreseeable future. But a significant upgrade would be an actual giant monitor, which you could program to show graphics behind the analysts as they are talking. But again, that also kind of requires, I mean, I guess you could do that with the way that they're currently
average, because everyone's got a podcast now, the average podcast studio looks better than the average esports studio. Think about it, like, if you're watching, like, Fighter and the Kid or whatever the fuck, it ain't fancy. They have an LED screen, some fucking chairs, a desk, some props, and that's
some microphones.
Yeah. There's some mics, and away you go. And instead, esports stood there rigidly with a desk that goes to fucking prick level. It's even lower than your waist, and you stand there like a dickhead in front of a green screen. It's garbage. It looks garbage. It feels like garbage, and no one's having a good time. And the segments are boring, and the content's boring. And it looks like ass. It's like I don't know what to tell people. And now we're saying that's what it's going to be. We're not even. You're going to Katowice. You're not going to Rio. You're going to fucking Katowice. We're doing shit like that. And it's
remember that almost happened with PGL's major, right? The one that you worked, right? So like that could have been the case for an actual major.
They're doing it. They're doing that with TI right now.
Yeah.
They're in a studio in Norway. They're not even saving any money. You're not even saving any money.
if you're going to be over in Sweden or Norway or something.
Yeah, they're not even saving any money, and they are working insane. Like it's like they've got to get up at like 2 a.m. to do the show. So it's like, and we're saying that's fine. And let me tell you something again. Been to a few events in my time. The energy you get from being at the event is something you cannot replicate. Like if I go sit in a green room and I can't hear the players, or I can't go sit in the stadium and watch the games, or I can't talk to a player between rounds of a tournament, if I don't see them in the hotel afterwards, you're getting like, there's an energy there, but also you get little informational tidbits. You get to throw stuff into the broadcast that you wouldn't ordinarily have. It's just cold and sterile doing it the way that we're doing it with these studios. But again, we're giving ourselves permission to do that because of this fucking COVID nonsense. Like we're like, at the end of the day, guys, like, the horse bolted on that. I hope this isn't like some controversial opinion that's going to get me fucking, cancelled. We didn't do a great job of locking it down, despite the lockdowns, right? And now, here we are, nearly in 2023, and, we're going to get a winter spike. But we gotta get on with it now. Like we just have to get on with it. Just go to events and just do what we can and be smart. And people are using COVID as an excuse. People were using COVID as an excuse for everything, not just cutting back on broadcasts. People were using it as like, well, we can't support an esports team anymore. Motherfucker, you had one eye on the door for a year already. What you talking about? We just can't afford it, even though esports is the only industry that consistently grew and made profit in the COVID era, while everything, well, apart from Amazon, obviously, and like for Just Eat, Just Eat, Amazon, and esports, we're all pandemic proof. So yeah, man, I don't know. Like, it's like I said, the theme of the show is esports sucks now, and it's not like some boomer looking back and going, "It was better in my day." It just was better in my day. It just was. It's an objective fact. You can go and look at it for yourself. And if you were around and you caught 2016, 2017, 2018, and you look at that and you think about like things like the Boston Major, think right, does anything compare to that run we had that we're doing now in a post-pandemic world? No, it doesn't. And people have all got fingers crossed for Rio and hoping it's going to be the one that like rejuvenates the scene. Mate, that's copium. That's like Overwatch 2. It ain't real. So yeah, like I say, I agree. I think a lot of people use the pandemic as an excuse. I think broadcasts suck now, and people have to put their foot down. But it can't come from the talent. I'm telling you, the talent have these conversations.
Yeah.
It's got to come from the fans. If you don't demand more, you will get served this.
And probably not just on Reddit either. Although I guess that's the other open question: is where do you even go to bring your critique? Because there is like on Reddit there is a predominant view that ESL is shite, but ESL remains shite. So I don't know how long that has to stay. I guess stay the course on that one if that's what you want to see improve. The thing about the whole like broadcast talent thing or the general approach of the infrastructure around an event for broadcasting is when Moses was on this show, one of the things that he said was like when he would be meeting up with the people for ELeague, that was the happiest crew he had ever worked with, where they were genuinely enthused to produce content and make a good show. And they were given fist bumps with like camera operators and stuff. And to me, that sounds like a functioning set of some show that's being going on. To him, that was like, holy shit, this is amazing. I've never experienced this before. And, you guys can watch that episode if you want to hear more from the horse's mouth in that sense, but or the eagle's mouth.
Is this where I do one of the like annotation things that pops up, I think? If I can,
you can try, but I don't even know if YouTube still has that feature.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. It pops up as a little thing in the top right.
Yeah, you can go like, what's this? You're pointing it. Yeah, well.
Oh yeah, by the way, Rich, I have to ask you for like if you have the source image of one of those like overused Deserto faces that they put your face on the
phone. Man,
I do want to. I want to.
Like I'm literally like 260 pounds. Like I fucking hate it. Everyone uses that picture. They even did it to me on that fucking pirate thing. That I made with Monty or whatever. Yeah, that one. I can't remember the name. It's good. I like that name. But anyway, like they always use that one picture of me, and it's just I'm just fat. I'm like fatter than I am now. Like and really fat in the face. And they used that picture of me, and it was like I'd basically discovered that fried chicken was a breakfast food in Atlanta. You can just have fried chicken for breakfast, and people do and did. Every day, and you would just go down you would just go in to do ELeague, and you'd be like, "Oh, what's in the catering today? Oh, delicious fried chicken,
thank you,
waffles and syrup."
Does not sound half bad,
yeah. You're eating like 4,000 calories a day without even noticing.
Yep. Now American food will sneak up right on you.
Oh yeah.
I was thinking of the one on the Deserto thing where you're like holding your glasses. It's fitting if we're gonna call this the Specky show.
Oh, you mean
YouTube thumbnail.
I don't know how they got that, but yeah, there's one where I'm doing like this. Yeah.
Well, there you go. We just got it again. Anyway.
Yeah, the problem with that is people fucking just Photoshop a dick
Of course.
in my mouth. That's literally a thing that happened.
Well, you don't need it in the mouth. You can just have it be like, "Oh my god, I can't even see it. What's going on?"
Squeaking off a cheek, you know.
Yeah.
Jetting in my eye. Yeah, people do that. People have done that to me and sent me that. I've had like, I had somebody, I think one time, this was a long time ago, I don't even know if I still have it, but someone put my face, you know who Nicocado Avocado is?
Yeah.
Well, you know how,
Unfortunately.
well, you know how like he sells pictures of his ass.
I didn't
No,
know that.
not until just now,
No, I
but
didn't.
yeah.
Well, check it out. It's as awful as you would expect. But anyway, he's doing one where he's got the fucking invite to the captain's table in the camera, but he's doing like a cheeky like little look back and someone had like shopped my face on it. So, you know. So it just happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, there was that one. I can't
there in the
remember if
public
this is
eye.
an old. I can't remember if this is an old show or a newer one. It might have been an I Hate It Here, but there was one show where you and Sam were doing a show, and there's an image of you. I think it's you. I might be getting this completely wrong, but there was. I'm pretty sure
it's going to be someone absolutely physically repulsive you're comparing me to now. So.
No, it was. I'm pretty sure it was you, but it was like your face photoshopped over somebody who was in a wig and wearing some like lingerie or some shit. And Sam was like, "Why do you look like that?" And you're like, "It's fucking Photoshop." He thought it was a real image. So yeah.
I can't remember. I know that they did do that to Duncan on ELeague. We had him done up as like Dr. Frankenfurter from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, I think, or one of them. So, and I don't think Duncan liked that very much.
Probably
Whatever.
Doesn't seem like it would match his the persona he's going for.
No, it definitely didn't.
That does bring us back to ELeague though, and people who are enthusiastic about putting on a show. So maybe you can speak to why there was some caliber of the broadcast that we haven't.
Well, I hate talking about it because obviously it's been 6 years now.
Sure.
You know, and it's essentially ancient history in esports, but I think it's a touchstone because I think the quality of the broadcast was so high. I think the caliber of the games was high. I think it was the first time I saw a lot of pros actually feel like little stars and celebrities who were probably responsible for that sudden spike in ego. You know, that a lot of them got because we used to pick them up in like chauffeur-driven cars from their 5-star hotel, you know, and drive them. And like say, you know, the ESL used to be like, because we used to talk to our GM, and they used to say like, "Listen, you're treating these players a bit too good. Can they're coming to our events now and saying, where's the cars? Where's the fruit basket? You know,
where's the unlimited eggs?" Face.
Yeah, exactly. Where are the unlimited eggs? Who knew? So anyway, yeah. I mean, look, it's silly to keep looking backwards as opposed to forwards. It's just that there's not really a lot, you know, good on the horizon. And you know, ELeague was, you know, for me, I think it's the high watermark, certainly for CSGO. We just, and you know, what was cool, the reason that so many people were excited and enthused, you know, even on the shop floor, so to speak, the crew, it was because they were doing something interesting to them. You know, they were doing something new, something fresh. It was like a real energy there because a lot of these people that worked on the show, you know, they were just doing regular talk shows or regular sports shows, and it was like it was a world they knew. It was blasé. When we came in, and you know, they don't know who we are, right? Like, because you know, you work on a show with Shaq, you know who Shaq is, and it's like you also probably don't get to talk to Shaq. Shaq's a fucking huge celebrity. He's got his shit to do. He comes in, he does the show, he leaves the building. Although I always found him to be a very personable chap. And he even made time on multiple occasions to pop in and chat with the ELeague folks, including myself, where he gave me a pep talk before I had my contract negotiations, which was surreal as fuck. He just, he said, "You're the best thing on the show. Make sure you get that paper." That was Shaq's. He said, "I only watch to listen to you." He said, "Now he's bullshitting. He's gassing me up." But,
right.
you know, but it's Shaq. So
Must feel nice,
still
though.
nice. Yeah, still nice.
It's Shaq, so you believe him. You know. Anyway, so the crew were excited because they'd never seen esports before. We weren't celebrities. None of us had an ego. We used to all hang out. Shit, man. I probably shouldn't say too much. I used to go drinking with the fucking crew. I met a few of the crew. They took me out to some, because Atlanta's got some very naughty bars, and they were locals, and they used to take me out. I used to go out drinking with them in my spare time. So, I had a great time. Like it was, and everybody came in and everyone was excited. What are we doing today? Wow, video games. Boom. Look at this. Look at that. Who's that? Wow, I know nothing about this. Then crew members even started bringing their kids to the shows, to the tapings, because the kids were interested. And
Sure, yeah.
Everybody was so happy to be working on that broadcast. It didn't matter we were going out on the Friday night death slot. It didn't matter that we were having 300,000 people watch, but the rerun of Big Bang Theory got like fucking 1.2 million. A rerun of Big Bang Theory that was on after us at 1 a.m. would get 4 times our audience. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. It didn't matter as well. Like we all just took the reality that this ain't gonna last. This is doomed to failure, essentially. But we all just put it in the back of our mind. We muddled through. And for me, I think if you look at the whole of ELeague, the seasons of ELeague, the stories we got, the only damp note was the Clash for Cash, really.
Sure.
I think everything else was amazing. The seasons, the majors we did. I think Boston, obviously I'm biased. I think it's the best one of all time. The only one that comes close is Columbus, in my opinion. And like out of the top 3, I'd say Boston, Columbus, Atlanta. Like, so we did 2 of the top 3 for me. I know there's probably a Cologne that can sneak in there, but if you look at all of ELeague's output, like I said, the only damp squib was Clash for Cash, and the problem with that is we just left it too long. Virtus Pro fell off. They had, Taz's fucking Mercedes or whatever it was. And that killed that team. And it wasn't a rivalry by the time they had the rematch. But, other than that, everything else we did was straight fire. Optic coming out of nowhere, Hex getting on stage, like just iconic moments in CS history. We had so many of them, So yeah, super proud of all of that work. And unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever see anything like that ever again. Certainly not in CSGO's lifetime. That was the peak, that was it. So maybe there'll be another version of CS in the future. We get back to it. But CSGO, as it stands, it's trending downwards. Maybe Valorant can do something like that. Probably not with Riot's involvement. But yeah, that for me it was just the peak of CS. It was the peak of my career. Probably, actually, with everything that was going on, the peak of my life. It's definitely been downhill since. I can't lie about it. All the Zoomers will go, you're washed. You're washed. All right, yeah, I guess I am. But at least I get to be washed.
Sure. Yeah.
I got to the top, so whatever. But yeah, ELeague was amazing. For real.
I suppose...
Sad it didn't last just a bit longer,
Indeed. No, that is true. And maybe a little bit more of a trickle-down effect, I think, is perhaps the big thing where everyone has to sort of catch up, whereas it felt like, okay, ELeague's doing their thing, they can be the peak, and then we just need to be sustainable, is maybe what, a Summit or an ESL, that kind of time, Face It, at that kind of time, maybe felt, and then it's like, okay, if we have to, we can't compete with them right now, but then there's not as much time and maybe desire to catch up to where the ELeague product was at. But yeah, I guess ultimately what you're saying, I think I've seen it in The Office. It's probably just a fucking, and I don't even watch The Office, but I just, when do you realize that you're in the good old days kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's a line in season 1 of True Detective, where it's Woody Harrelson. Hang on, I'm gonna get the exact quote because why butcher it?
Well, it's fantastic television, that. For sure.
Oh, it's easily, like, put it this way. Obviously, The Sopranos is the best TV show of all time because it sustained its quality for so long. But if you're just talking about a season of television, True Detective is the best. But yeah, hang on, let me read it. You can cut this out in the VOD if you want.
No, you're all. I mean,
all
it's all
good.
good, mate.
Oh,
It's
you
all
can
good.
just leave it in.
It adds to we are laid back or whatever. It's moments
Yeah,
like
true,
these,
true. But now I've got to. So here it is. Do you know the good years when you're in them, or do you just wait for them until you get ass cancer and realize that the good years came and went? Because there's a feeling, and you might notice it sometimes. This feeling like life has slipped through your fingers, that the future's behind you. That's it. That's how I feel about I mean, life in general, but esports for sure. It's like the reason I'm so down on it now, I guess, is because I saw all this like unlimited potential. It's what always like mad excited me about it. Because why would anyone, right? Keep in mind, I was already old. I was already old when I started esports. I was already in my 20s, right? That's late. That's late to the game, and why would anyone want to get involved in this? Because it was like unlimited potential. It was a new industry, a new world. It's all digital. It was all pretty much online. But yeah, with LAN, but predominantly we exist in digital spaces. So you get to be who you want to be. You can check all that garbage at the door. You don't have to be, we all had avatars. We all had nicknames. And you could just, I'm Richard Lewis, who's got to sell mobile phones in Middlesbrough, Monday to Friday. But, when I come home, I get to be, Gonzo, fucking journalist extraordinaire, manager of 4 Kings. I got some fucking stake in this. I got players that I get to like coach and manage, and tournaments to go to on a weekend. Like I got to finish work early on a Friday, jump into a fucking car, drive down, pick up 3 other guys, get to an I series. Let's fucking do it. And the stories from that time, man, because it was just normal people trying to do something new and exciting where the rules had not been predefined yet. It was great. Those are moments I'll always treasure. I-36 with Henry, he's fucked it, lads. CGS, season 1 CGS, taking Z board almost to getting drafted to be in CGS, but the team absolutely imploding because we were a bunch of drunks. Those moments. Excite UK at I-32. That one was a story never told, really. That was my team, Excite UK. I brought that brand back. That was my team that I owned. We got seeded 5th for an I series and finished like 16th to 32nd or something because we got battered by an old friends team who just psyched us out and we shit the bed. And then literally when we were about to win a force buy, the old player who's now Jack Frags, I used to manage him on my team. He was called Callisto back in the day. He fucking pressed the left mouse button on a fucking FAMAS burst fire with 3 people lined up and his PC blue screened. And we went out of a tournament because of that. All of this stuff's amazing. I treasure all of that. All of that stuff. It's my fucking story. Now, it's just garbage. It's not because they're my memories. It's because we're not making any new cool memories. Now it's just like, you play a game, it's developer run, it's regime run. All the rules have been set. Best behave yourself. Everyone's watching. Oh, did you got a bad tweet from 10 years ago? Your career's over. Here's a bunch of like just fake people who like are desperately trying to cling on to sort of whatever vestige of a career they have. No one can be different. No one can be interesting. Actually, we're bringing in a bunch of fucking rules that, we're going to hold you to a standard that probably doesn't even really exist. It's just something we do because of the way social media intersects with esports now. And it just sucks. It's just pressure and stress and garbage. And for what? For what? Like, you don't own any of the stuff you think you own. Like, even as a pro, like back when I'm building a brand, I own that shit. Back when I'm creating a team, I own that shit. Now it's all owned by sponsors and businesses. You as a player, you build your brand, right? Well, you sold your image rights to about 5 different people. You don't even know who owns your image rights. You're going to turn up in a fucking commercial 5 years from now when you don't even play the game, maybe. You don't even know. It's just corporate. It's just bullshit. It's just everything's just American corporate culture across all of esports. There's no edge to it. There's no fun to it.
Well, fun scares away sponsors, which don't you know that the reason why we don't have that many sponsors in CSGO is because the bad T word is in the game? Can't have that.
Well, I mean, listen, I don't buy that for a second anyway.
Yeah, of course.
That's just more bullshit. That's just more bullshit. That's like not real. You know, how the fuck would that, how does that even make sense? When, you know, you have the NFL and before every game, right, is the military. But anyway, you know, but it's just there's no edge to it. There's no like fun to it.
Yeah.
Well, this is a subject
you
that's
can't break any rules,
right.
know?
As a subject that I know Scriv wanted to get to at some point here is the topic of personality and in esports and on broadcast and with players. And I always go back to Flashpoint because I still can't believe they got Guardian of all people to shit talk, where he was up against some North American team and he was standing in for Dignitas. He's why are you quiet or whatever? Yeah. And it's just like you never get that kind of moment, that kind of memory from watching a show now. There's never anything like that. There's a little bit of flirting with it with Blast where they'll have those like during freeze time, they've got these like stained glass things or whatever. They're not stained glass, but there's some sort of thing where they make it transparent and then they make it back opaque later when during the round itself. So between rounds, you get to see your opponents or whatever, look into what they're doing, which is kind of a neat idea. But I'm still not sure. Like, it's not quite as close to what we want, or what I want anyway, which is like constant going back and forth and having that be an element of, you know, psychological warfare, if you want to call it that. Like, who's going to break under the pressure of your rival, who you're already kind of panicking? Oh my God, it's simple, or whoever's on the other team, and he's talking shit to me after he gets a clutch 1v3 or whatever. Like, that's the kind of stuff that really does define moments, even in traditional sports when we do get a little bit of glimpse. Although, admittedly, even under those circumstances, it's also trending downward. And I do feel like maybe we are on a course for there to not be much personality, not be much edge. I mean, obviously you're just saying we're already there, but it feels like it's not going to get any better, which is a real shame because we had genuine opportunities and little glimpses of what could be at several stages in the last couple of years, and it really feels like it's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, all you need to know is about where we're at, right? Because it's like people complain about boring shows, but then it's like you get something like Flashpoint and everybody willed that to fail because of the people that were involved in it. Yeah. It's just that simple. You know, it's like the community wanted Flashpoint to fail, and they laugh about it failing. And it's like, well, hang on, where's your American scene now? Oh yeah, there's no league for them to play in. There's nothing. Yeah. ESL took it away. Your beloved ESL. You know, so the community fucking, you know, lashed out at Flashpoint, which was a great fucking project that had real potential because Monty's involved and Thorin's involved. So fuck those guys, right? Fuck those guys with their personalities. How dare they say shit I disagree with on the internet? That's how fucking childish and pathetic the average esports fan is. I fucking hate the average esports fan. I cannot abide how dumb they are, even by comparison to the average sports fan. I've never seen a sports fan advocate for the death of a league. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I've never seen a sports fan go, wouldn't it be great if there was less sports?
Yeah.
I've never seen that. But an esports fan, they wish for it every fucking day. And then they're like, oh yeah, wait, well, this sucks. Yeah, you did it, dickhead. That's you. So I'm telling you, you know, the problem you've got in esports is any flash of personality, any little colouring outside of the lines, any little deviation from the prescribed narrative of the day, and you are done. You are gone. That people will bang on you until you quit, or worse. There's a real dark aspect to some of this mob behavior that I won't get into. It's already been a pretty dour and depressing show. But you know, they really like, if you're coming through now and you're broadcast talent. I think the best example I can give, I'll use my old mate Henry again. Henry, I've known Henry since he was like 15, 16. That was the first time I met Henry. He was 15, 16. He was competing in Counter-Strike Source tournaments, playing in the best teams in the UK. And I was a beat journalist / team manager back then, right? And he was considered really good and an upcoming talent, and he played for like Reason, and then obviously, you know, you had the whole royalty for a reason thing when they joined Four Kings, which was a huge deal. I broke that story, not that it matters now, all ancient history. And I followed Henry's career. You know, I know his family, you know, and we became friends when he got a little bit older. And you know, we started casting together. You know, we did like some fucking stupid online Digna Ass Cup because Odie hit us up, and we were doing it for £50 a day. And I think we did like some seasons at ESEA Europe or maybe America. I can't even remember. But me and him were like a casting duo, and that's how he got his start in casting. And you know, he has been a lifetime servant to this space. Lifetime servant. He's given his youth. He's given all of his talent, and he reached the heights. When him and Sado were at their peak, they're up there with Tastosis. It's like one of the best commentary duos in sports in the world ever. You don't understand how good you had it when you were listening to that. And then Henry said, I need a new challenge because we should set ourselves new challenges periodically. And so he went out and he said, let's build a fucking Colossus and, you know, let's have the Cloud9 moment. I want to be a general manager. And this community, this business that he's given his life to, shit on him before he'd even had the chance to fail.
Yeah.
Threads. Oh, yeah, casters becoming general managers. Lol. What do they know? What do you know, dickhead? Who the fuck are you, you brat? Who are you? Why can you judge somebody's talent from your fucking lofty anonymous Reddit tower with no expertise whatsoever and anything to do with esports? You can judge, but he can only fail, right? That's how it works, is it? It makes no sense. It's like these people who go, yeah, Semler doesn't know much about the game. And you go, well, how are you in a position to judge? What do you know about the game? And they go, well, yeah, I'm like, you know, like Master Guardian like, so shut up, dickhead. You don't know more than Semler about the game. You don't know. What he does is he occupies a niche. He occupies a role. He plays to his strengths. And then people go as well, oh, he says the same phrases all the time. You are listening to him for tens of thousands of hours in your life. Yes, he's going to repeat words. Yes, it happens. So this community is garbage. They shit all over Henry, waited for him to fail, and then when they failed, I mean, they put him in a dark fucking place. That's my friend. That's my boy. Like, they put him in a dark place. Why? Because he tried to do something different. That's how they treat people who give their lives to make this industry better. So fuck the fucking fans. Until you get a better attitude, you don't deserve shit. I'm glad you've got garbage broadcasts brought to you by pure evil, your corporate sponsors, your corporate overlord. You don't deserve any better. Till you get it in your head that there are people that actually fucking bled to give you what you claim to enjoy. If you don't treat them with respect, you're getting none from me. And like I said, what they did to Henry, it's an abomination. I would have thought the CS community would have fucking supported one of their own, but they don't. They don't. And the worst part is the people who might have done that, they're not even here anymore. It's just new little Zoomer kids who were just rubbernecking, installed Valorant for the first time and heard our game's harder. Can I have an opinion? No, dickhead. No opinions. Check them at the door. You earn the right to an opinion. So what they did to Henry it's all you need to know about this business. It's all you need to know about why we can't go places and have nice things and be better. Because that guy is one of the greatest casters to ever do it. One of the greatest UK players in Source to ever do it. Like, could have literally dined out on that forever. Tried something different and people shit on him and nearly ruined his life. And then he goes into something. I don't agree with NFTs. I used to say to him all the time. I was messaging him, got any JPEGs for sale, mate? Like, I used to fucking wreck him all the time. I'm right-clicking on your mushrooms, Henry. I used to, but at the end of the day, he was passionate about that. And his company never scammed anyone. They never did no rug pull. They raised money for mental health charities. Now you read about Henry G. Scam artist, ruined his career. Like, none of that's true. You're lying, blood. You're fucking lying about someone. And so why would anyone give their life to this? Like, they don't even, like, the fans don't even care. They don't even fucking care. They don't care that you could be doing something else. They don't care. And they will treat you like shit. And so personalities, back to your point, to bring it back from the Henry rant. Personalities. You're not allowed to have personalities. Henry's crime was having a personality. Henry's crime was being a lightning rod for the team and said, we're going to be a Colossus, get it, because it was a juggernaut when it was Jason Lake, yeah? Did you get it? Did you get it? And like, we're going to win, and we're going to win. And all of the Cloud9 fans, they were literally emailing Jack every day, fire Henry. He's too cocky. He's overconfident. Like, there's no room for showmanship. There's no room for opinions. The scene is just trash. It's just trash populated by trash kids doing a fucking trash popularity contest where they just want to dunk on people who are fucking a million times the person they'll ever be. So whatever, fuck them.
Well, your point about who would do it, who would even want to go through all of these trials and tribulations. As far as I can surmise, it has to be people whose dream it is to do it for the people who do actually appreciate it, and also can somehow manage to psychologically, mentally turn off the like innate desire to know what people are saying about you. And then like, okay, if you can block Reddit from your like point of view, you'd never interact with it. If you can like really have a strong list of people you're never going to look at when they reply to your tweets. If you could basically like somehow use social media without using social media, if you know what I mean, then
totally.
Then maybe you can be that person. If you also, on top of it, have a drive. One of the lessons that I learned in my brief stint doing commentary was, I would talk to people I would, shout out Scrawny for this. He actually sat down with me for like 2-3 hours one day and we just went over a VOD and he was saying like, here's what you can improve upon. And like, your analysis is solid, but what you should try to do is showmanship, or, he gave me some pointers. And it really, I thought for the limited amount of time I was able to put that to practice, I thought it made a huge difference. And those are the people whose feedback you should be seeking out if you're a commentator, is look to people who have done it before, who are still doing it now, ideally, who are, and these people are receptive. If they think that you've got some promise, and, if they happen to be available at the time, a lot of them get busy or whatever, but they'll sit down with you, they'll talk with you, and they'll, as long as you're respectful about it, as long as you're not showing a macaroni art and saying, how's my first drawing, like give them something of substance to go off of. But if you can do that, if you've casted a tier 3, tier 2 tournament before or whatever, then there's odds are these people will talk to you. Those are the people you look at. You don't look at Reddit. You don't look at feedback from any other source, because the average fan doesn't know, like, even if they were saying good things about you, why the fuck would you care? These people don't know commentary. They don't know broadcasting. Maybe they know a little bit of what they've heard or whatever, and they've internalized some mechanics based on that, but they're not going to be able to tell you what you're doing wrong. Yeah.
They know what they like, and that's the extent. And once you go down the rabbit hole of like trying to pander to large groups of people, you're not really developing yourself anymore. I mean, listen, I used to do all that stuff, like give people pointers and give people feedback. Yeah. Now I just feel like I'm committing a hate crime. And I'm just, why would I encourage anyone to be in this business? Like I can't do it in good conscience. Now I get emails every week. I want to be an esports journalist, and it's just a one word answer: don't. That's it. Don't do it. Don't fuck up your life. Seriously, there's no point. What are you gonna do? Tell the truth in this business? You're having a laugh. What a waste of time. So yeah, it's like, listen, I get it. Obviously, a lot of people are grasping, and I'm sure with you guys, like I'm just a jaded old man. You probably still enjoy all of this stuff. Yeah, after 20 years, mate, like, and haven't had a taste of the good stuff. I don't know. I guess it's like fucking. You get that raw cocaine from Bolivia, and then you just fucking huffing stepped on shit full of aspirins now. You remember what the good stuff was like. So whatever.
No, it's like when, kids come up and they're like, my favorite game is Fortnite. It's like, have you played any other games though? Like, do you have a frame of reference? Right? My favorite movie is Transformers 3 or whatever. Like, what are you even saying? So that's sort of how I imagine it is like, if your frame of reference starts at a certain point, or specifically if it's like working an event too, it's like, oh, I love this online event I did. It's like, well, have you worked a LAN before? Have you worked ELeague, for example? No, I never did that. Like, well then, what does your opinion even matter at that point, right? So.
Yeah. I think I'm still maybe naive enough, at least a little bit. And, I'm also getting on a bit, as it were. You know what I mean? I've been doing it for 5-6 years. It's nowhere near yourself, right? But like, there's enough ups and downs there to think, and to consider, and to this, that, and the other. But I still love the craft. I think that's kind of the ultimate thing, and trying to get better at that. And then I also, it's like, just never. I've done 500 people. You know what I mean? And that was that iBuyPower event, if you remember. So it was absolutely dreadful.
I'm just thinking phrasing. I've done 500 people.
Yeah, okay.
There it is.
A 500 person crowd.
At an event, no less. Come
for
on.
those who can't read the nuance, but and even just kind of that and getting to, that's where I'm at. It's like, okay, maybe you set goals or whatever, right? And I think perhaps it is at a point where you've hit most of yours, so then it becomes making new ones or breaking out the ceiling or whatever. There's the field that's available, but I don't know. I have a few long-term visions or whatever. I'd love to run broadcasts from behind the scenes and try and push the area that you can go to, the level that you can go to, the quality of it, I guess is probably the best word that I'm looking for. But it's hard because sometimes the system, the industry, no one in particular, but the whole thing top to bottom maybe feels like you're not as appreciated as you want to be, whether journalist or player or commentator or whatever.
I gave up chasing that. That was a big deal to me, but I realized in 2015, I was fucking, again, I've said this before, this isn't a surprise, I was fucking suicidal by the end of 2015. Felt like even though I had things to look forward to, it felt like I'd actually lost everything that I'd built up. We had all that. I was considered. So a bunch of stuff happened. So obviously I had that Ace of Predator Masters fucking drama.
Oh yeah,
with my good mate Henry.
That was my first event watching that.
Yeah,
so that was quite exciting.
Yeah, so the theory craft there was that I'd bullied Babam, and Reddit just ran with that. And literally, it was. I think it was the first time I'd had dramas before, because obviously, like, I'd come out of StarCraft, and I'd been attacked by all the evil geniuses, because I said Papa John's, it's run by some greasy cretin who was threatening. He was like, if Obama gets elected, we'll have to fire our staff. So, he was trying to influence his staff to vote against Obama. And and they were sponsoring an esports event. And I said, I don't really like having shit sponsors in esports. And that was the Pizza GG fiasco and then that became, not only was it a bad sponsor, the orgs that sold that sponsor didn't even keep the promises they made to their own fans. So I was writing about this and everyone was calling me a dickhead. Everyone was saying that you're a cunt. You're not even StarCraft, mate. Who the fuck are you? Right? So I had Total Biscuit, who obviously I became very good friends with. He was like a hero of mine, John, and I had him attacking me. I had, Jeff, another guy I became good friends with, sadly passed away in Control. I had him on at me, and these were like super popular people. But I held the line, right? I held the line, and we got to know each other, and they got to appreciate my perspective. And that it feels like a different time, because that was a time you could be in esports where you could be at someone's throat and disagree with them, but then when you met them at an event, you could sit down and have a beer and find the middle ground. And all of my good esports friends, we started probably from a place of acrimony. We started from a place of conflict. You can't do that anymore. There's no. You can't make up with people. You can't find a middle ground. You can't disagree on anything. You have to, whatever the dogma is, you got to be about that life. There's no deviation. You got to agree with everything I say, everything I think, or you are scum and evil. And that's just how we live now. So anyway, by the time I got to like 2015, I'd had some dramas and I'd had some threads and I'd had a lot of hate and I'd had popular, powerful people in esports basically putting me down. But also there was a grace that was extended. Like the StarCraft community said, you know what? Richard was right about those articles. We take it all back. Total Biscuit said, you know what? I want to make it clear that Richard's good people, and we disagreed on this, but he's a friend of mine, and I'm always going to go on his shows, go on his podcast, and he did so much for promoting like Unfiltered, climbing the ladder, all the other podcasts I did in the early days. I wouldn't be here without John. Like he really raised my profile, and he did that, apropos of nothing. Didn't have to. It's hard to admit you're wrong when you're a public figure, and he when he was wrong, he was wrong. He always, we had some arguments, and sometimes he would say, Rich was on the right side of this one. It really helped me out. So anyway, by 2015, it was the first time I'd ever seen something whole cloth where the hate was completely unwarranted and it was complete fiction. It objectively didn't happen, and it was unfolding. I mean, I'm going, surely this is me. Like I've given my life to CS. Like, you ain't gonna do me like this. Not me. Surely not. Not Counter-Strike. StarCraft, I get it. I'm an outsider. I was writing about fucking Counter-Strike in 2004. You can't do it to me. But they did do it to me. They made up a fucking story. I go back and I periodically read that thread because I'm sick like that. And the things they're saying about me that objectively didn't happen. It's madness. And then the same year, obviously, I've joined the bad right-wing website for 6 months, without truly understanding what I was signing up for there. And obviously, if I could go back in time, I wouldn't do that. And then that brought a bunch of hate because the American political landscape was drastically shifting. And then the Loader thing happened. And again, no one ever believes the story, but it happened just in a insane series of coincidences. Like picking up a sign. The sign belongs to Loader's girlfriend. I don't know that. I make a joke about Hiko, my friend. He interprets that as a joke, the joke being about his girlfriend because he's insecure. And then he comes to attack me, which nobody can believe he's doing. So the security let him through.
Yeah.
And then not one person, apart from the people who were there, but I mean, like, no one in the community ever gave me the benefit of the doubt. And if you go look at all the reactions to articles I was writing, like I was writing match-fixing articles after the Loader incident, saying, why aren't we kicking these players out? And all the replies, it's downvoted, and all the replies are, fuck Richard Lewis, we should kick him out. He's a violent thug. And then you think about it, it's why I'm so pissed off about the way the config thing went. Like,
of course, yeah.
Yeah. So I gave up on ever having any love from this fucking community or esports in general. Like, that was what I wanted. I wanted to, when I quit, I wanted everybody to say, like, he was a good lad, he was one of us. That was super important to me. But I'm never having that. Like, I know as well, when the day comes, when let's say I was to pass away suddenly, right? Let's just say, hypothetically, and again, it's dark as fuck, isn't it? But let's say I was to pass away, because I've seen that happen to my friends. I've buried too many people in esports. I know that people will climb over themselves to tell lies about me and denigrate my memory and say I'm scum and a bad person. That's all I got to look forward to. So, there is if you get into this wanting to be loved and cherished by the community, the only way you get that now is by pandering to them all the time, 24/7. And those guys who do that are fake as fuck, but they're the ones that are revered and loved. Oh, he's such a nice guy, and he's like a diva scumbag behind the scenes. So, you can't be real. There is no room to be authentic and be who you are and be a three-dimensional person that might disagree with you on this, might have some personality disorders, might have some personality traits you don't like, might not be 100% the good guy. No, there's no room for that. So, yeah, look, listen, my legacy's cemented. I said it many times. I get it now. I'm just on course to be despised. I could do a million things right between now and then. People still talk about shit I did in 2015 like it's fresh in the memory. Every time someone discovers an old story about me, they demand I apologize for it. People still make up like, oh, all he does is argue on Twitter and stuff. I barely even use it. I'm trying to disengage, So whatever. just is what it is, guys. Like, you know, if you get into this business wanting to be loved, it's never going to happen. So.
Well, I mean, it's very similar to Hollywood in that sense, right? A lot of people who were like, I need, looking for positive attention. They've gone to like one of the worst places you could imagine if that's what you need in life, if you need some sort of affirmation. But to that point, if they're, your point about not using Twitter is actually true, because when I went to go and see if you had been tweeting anything, crazy lately, all I saw was that dickhead clip, which I really appreciated. So
yeah. I mean, listen, still got some fire in the nuts.
There you go.
But
listen, if it's on Twitch, it's fair game, right?
Yeah, that's man. I mean, like, it's like, what's even the point? Like, there's no point in arguing. There's no point in expressing opinions. There's just no point. The community ain't built for that anymore. And like I say, it's really sad, because your nostalgia is always going to be tinted. Like, you warp any historical event through the prism of nostalgia and who you were back then, and maybe you were happier back then, and maybe life was better back then, or whatever. It's always going to be tinged. Like, you put it this way. I think, like, if you were held in a let's say you were in prison, right? And you were in solitary confinement, and every day someone came in and kicked you in the balls at 9 a.m. That's what they did. And that's not nice, right? No one likes getting kicked in the balls. And they did it for years. On the day they don't come in at 9 a.m. and kick you in the balls, you'd miss it. You'd be like, where's the guy? Why am I getting kicked in the balls today? That's the human mind, man. We can make the best out of a bad situation. But so nostalgia's trippy like that. But it's like I said, I just think it was objectively a better time. I think we had a better handle on social media. Disagreements were handled better. People were more willing to meet people halfway. It wasn't all do or die. The space was better. There was more room for growth. There was more potential. And now we're just at the end. It's just tapped out. It's like, this is the end of the 80s, the end of the 60s. Like, we're entering a new phase at esports and social media and the internet in general, and none of it's good. None of it's better than it was 7 years ago. Now, it doesn't mean it can't get better again, but we're locked in probably for the next 10 years for some bad times, just in general across the board. We've already lived through some of them. So, is what it is.
Yeah, kind of the dark ages. That's sort of how I've put it sometimes. And then you just have to hope, again, maybe naively or whatever, that there's some kind of a renaissance or whatever afterwards, right? But it's easy to say. And then, I guess for a lot of people, and myself included, maybe, like, I love the performative aspect of what I do. That's a big part of it. What reason is there for me to not get up on stage and do something along those lines that maybe isn't associated with my other passion of gaming, but you can separate your two things. So and that's definitely a battle that I've had over the past kind of year or so, of like how far do I want to go in? Do I just keep going until I get slapped and told that it's just not going to be a thing anymore, it's not going to work, or this is the highest level that you're going to get to, or whatever? Or do I just kind of never get to that point and don't be scared of, or whatever?
I mean, a lot of businesses are going through a similar, a lot of entertainment industries rather are going through a similar spot. Comedy's in a similar spot right now. You see a lot of stand-ups, and it's like there's a real divide. It's either like generic slop, garbage. Here's another Amy Schumer special, enjoy. Or at the other end, the comedians that, I don't know, there's some comedians have kind of like just got lazy. Some are soapboxing a little too much.
Sure.
And the general consensus among the top comedians is, shit, man, it ain't even unless you're taping a special. There's no point in going out there. Definitely don't play colleges. That's a waste of time. Someone's going to get offended.
Yeah, I mean, you find new ways though, right? You find, I don't know how familiar you are with Andrew Schultz or whatever, right? And I think that some of his stuff is good, and you can question other bits of it or whatever. But I think he's pretty funny, and he does well with crowds and all that, which feels more and more important as it's gone on. You know, everyone loves a good heckle, and then everyone loves to watch people be heckled. And you know, gone are the days of kicking people out for doing that and you know screaming at them like Bill Hicks used to do. But because you know it's like you're there to see me. It's not a two-way street or whatever. But he put his special on YouTube as part of like one of the member, you know, because you can be a super member
Members
or whatever.
only.
Yeah, on YouTube, and he went down that route because I think that
I'll
Netflix...
show you a super member, Scrib. Just wait.
But I think Netflix wanted to police him too much or whatever, right? So So I don't know. I don't know.
That's what he said. I mean, listen, I got nothing against the guy.
Sure.
My read on that was it sounded like a little bit of clever marketing, if I'm being honest about it. That was what I thought.
Oh, too hot for TV. Can only get it this way, right?
The idea that he had an agreement and like taped the special, and then they said, "Oh, we're gonna change it," and then he said, "Well, fuck you. I'll go independent." All just seems a little bit too neat.
Tim Dillon had one recently, right? So if they're allowing him on Netflix, then
if they're letting Chappelle do the fucking on Netflix, despite protests outside the offices, staff threatening to quit, loads of media pressure and attention, I don't think Schultz is really moving the dial, frankly.
Well, when you actually watch the special, it's not. There's nothing in there that seems like it's anything worse than what we saw, or worse in air quotes, obviously. Anything more scandalous potentially.
Well, I've seen the clips, and it's like, this is actually kind of like Louis C.K.'s doing edgier material than this, and obviously he was a fucking chronic masturbator or whatever, So, and he's back in the room.
Yeah.
So
he's got new glasses and grey in his beard.
I can talk about that. It's like, listen, I think a lot of industries are in a sort of similar spot where we're all going through this transition of like, how do you negotiate? How do you negotiate being entertaining in a world where what people want is what they sign up to? And if they get anything they don't like or deviates from their expectations, they're going to attack you remorselessly, relentlessly. How do you cope with that? What does a show look like in that world? How do you get past that? And again, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of cancel culture, all that shit. It's such an overused, blasé phrase. It's like everything. Once conservatives start using the phrase, it's jumped the shark. It needs to be called something else, like social justice warrior and all that other
virtue signaling.
All that other blasé shit. But yeah, so for me, like there are some unique challenges of how do you create something that has edge and a bit of excitement to it and could be a little bit different, a little bit naughty, a little bit dangerous. How do you create something like that in this current landscape? And generally the answer is you don't, and people aren't. And that's why a lot of stuff just feels very like generic. And it's so weird because it's like it's happening across all of like media, Yes. It's like all the cape shit in the movies.
Yeah.
And like, people are like, "Ooh, well, everything's got to be part of a franchise now. Everything's got to be like this," and and it's just so generic. And it's like, actually, in the attention economy, you would think it would go the other way, but it hasn't. Everything's the same.
It's a motivation problem. Is what it is there's, you see, like you're talking about cape shit, mainstream things in general have this approach where it's like we have to secure as many eyeballs as possible. Scrib was talking about you find a way to maybe you have to separate interests. You find some other interest that really does speak to you, and you're gonna, do something performative that maybe isn't related to gaming. And to the extent that we can talk about it on this show, I don't know how much time we got left, but the last Free Nation launch is kind of another case of this. It's like we're going our own way, sort of thing. And here, let's see how far we can go with that.
And look at how that framing, that framing has been attacked.
Sure.
But
that's the thing is like the people who are attacking the framing are not the people who you even wanted involved to begin with. And this is the main thing that is at odds with individuals who are coming at it, or corporations who are coming at it more profit minded, is that they want to cast as wide a net as possible. But the truly, I would say, like life-changing experiences you have are not things that are downstream of something that is mainstream. It has to be something that is necessarily niche because it speaks to you on an individual basis in a way that can't be achieved if it's just another mainstream element or product. And if you understand that, like I'm building a game right now, and the game is, if you liked StarCraft 1, our game is better than StarCraft 1. It is the only RTS that has been better than StarCraft 1 because StarCraft 1 was the best RTS we've seen so far. If you agree with that take, maybe you'll like the game we're building. And obviously it's not related to CS, but you can imagine that's a very niche idea. Everybody since then in the RTS genre is like, how do we make it more accessible? How do we make it more esports focused? How about instead we build a game, we see how it does. If a lot of people like it and play competitively, we can have an esports scene. If not, it'll just be this little cult classic. A lot of people will enjoy it anyway, and you don't need to have a crazy monetization scheme with a lot of microtransactions. How about you just buy the game and you own it forever? Crazy concept, but if we return to that and we push it in a direction we think is good, there's going to be an audience for that. And you talk about attention economy. There's people who are going to enjoy these kinds of things that are more niche, that are more specific. If your goal is just to create a good product as opposed to cast a wide net, get the lowest common denominator viewer on your service or whatever, then you are going to be able to, like, I think it's a priorities issue, really, at the end of the day, is if you care about what you're doing, you necessarily don't want people who you're not building for or catering to sign on to the whole enterprise. You want those people filtered out at the beginning, which is why, you know, again, to the RTS example, our tutorial is probably going to kill you if you don't know how to play an RTS game, right? And you can stay there and play the tutorial until you learn how to play the game, but we're not making this for, you know, my mom who's never played a strategy game before. We're making this for the people who really like the, you know, what we think of as the classics. And if you imagine it that way, I think it becomes a lot clearer as a path forward. And I think there's an element of that in the Last Free Nation idea, which is if you agree that the esports system is fucked, that like all the things we talked about in the show so far, if you vibe with that, then maybe this is an angle that you can take to enjoy content, to enjoy personalities, to get things you're necessarily not getting and not being exposed to in the mainstream product.
Yeah, and you know, I found like it was just super weird because like people were like, oh, Last Free Nation, like, oh, it's because gamers are so oppressed. It's like, what? Where are you pulling this shit from? Because that wasn't even, you know, like I barely had any talks about the Brandon at all, say, except I think that's got a nice pirate radio vibe. That was like my contribution. Someone who's old enough to remember tuning into pirate radio stations. You know, that was my sole contribution, probably. I like it. It's got that vibe, right? But like, how can anybody interpret it that it's like a gamers rise up thing, as opposed to you can't, like, do you think I'm going on an ESL broadcast and talking about human rights violations in Saudi Arabia anytime soon? Do you think any of their ancillary content is going to enable me to talk about any of these issues, talk about issues women might face in gaming, talk about the LGBTQ community? You think I get to talk about any of this stuff? And this territory is being occupied and deliberately occupied by these people, and we want to just carve out a little space where, you know what, if we want to talk about those issues, we can, without a sponsor pulling out, or without being fired, or without being told, right, you're blacklisted. That's it. That's all it was. If people don't think that's necessary, again, they're not paying attention. So yeah, but it just shows you how conditioned the esports community is to attack all the wrong people. You know, like again, this is such a glib phrase. I hate it. But you know, do you think me and Monty agree on everything?
Yeah, like, of course. You guys are the same person, aren't you? I mean, come on.
Like, listen, Monty is fine with taking the Saudi Arabian money. He would have took that. We had the offer. I said I can't be part of anything that has that for obvious reasons. He said he doesn't care and publicly said so, that he would take it because, as far as he's concerned, there ain't a dollar without blood on it.
Yeah,
and also by the time blood money's got, like, by the time Disney's taking it, is there even a point to objecting? You know, that's his opinion. Now, it's not one I subscribe to, but I can work with him still. I can be his friend, right? Like, is that okay with everybody? And it's like, no, apparently that make, you know, like, he's the devil for having opinions. I'm the devil. Thorin's the devil. Meanwhile, you know, ESL are good people. They're all right. Meanwhile, Riot Games are, come on, Richard, you're being a bit silly attacking their executives. Yeah, they settled that lawsuit for sexual discrimination. Come on, Richard. It's like all we want to do is just talk about the sport. Just talk about that's all we're doing. But it's just like, it's like people who attack what's his face? The one that fucking Thorin always gets compared to, Skip Bayless. Like
I was gonna say Donald Trump, but all right.
everyone does that too. But it's like everyone wants to attack him. Like, what's he doing that's so bad apart from saying ridiculous things about LeBron occasionally or whatever? But everyone despises him because he's just saying and it's like, that's mental. That's mental. That's the guy you tunnel in on with all the problems in sports, all the corruption, all the issues. That's the guy you hate, right? And in esports, we're even worse with that. We really tunnel in, and it's like, I saw from that launch, like the last 3 Nations stuff, like just outrageous claims. Like, oh, well, this is it now. Alex Jones for esports. Like, what? What's happening? Where are you getting this shit from? Yeah, Rick, that's all Richard Lewis is. Richard Lewis is Alex Jones. A literal comment. Richard Lewis is the Alex Jones. I am a journalist, an award-winning journalist with a 100% accuracy record. I have nothing in common with Alex Jones. What the fuck are you talking about? It's Alex Jones! They're overweight and they shout. That's it. They're the same. Like, this can't be real, like. But it is. It's real. It's what you have to deal with every day. So the esports community is conditioned to attack all the wrong people and support all the wrong people. And they will just and give their money to all the wrong causes and all the wrong things and stand for all the wrong values. And anyone who comes along and says, this is fucked, why aren't you pandering to me? Why aren't you telling me I'm right? Because you're wrong. Because you're wrong. Like, I can't change that. I wish you could come along and be right. Just try it. You might like it. But you don't want to do it. So... yeah,
this is what you guys have to do over at Last Free Nation. There has to be a skit where it's a response to the all that, right? And it's like you could call the skit like Mask Off or some shit, I don't know. But and you go in and right,
the mask off, the concept of mask off. Like so the concept of masking off is that every other time they've been in agreement with you was a fake contrivance, part of a carefully coordinated masquerade that you have engaged in your entire life solely for their benefit. But in the one moment, you're either weak, not at your best, say something they disagree with, lose your temper, whatever it is. That's your true self exposed forever. That's your true self exposed forever. That's who you are forever. That's who you were the whole time. The rest of your life doesn't matter. That moment amplified forever. That's who you are. Mask off. We finally got you. How can anyone operate under that system of like that's what we truly believe about people? Everybody will fail under that system. Everyone will fail. Everyone's mask will come off. Sure. So yeah, the mask off concept. Well, how fucking stupid. Again, I saw that, right? Like, listen, I said my piece about config and banged on him and all that because at the end of the day, people still don't even know the half of it. And I'm sick of players coming to events, getting fucking arsehole drunk and starting shit. I've had players fucking threaten me multiple times, by the way, and everyone thinks it's funny. Everyone. If I got beat up at an event, everyone would think that's hilarious. Everyone would say I deserve that.
Yeah, deserved is
right. Everyone would say he deserves that because of his outrageous opinions. But anyway, people
because of some tweets, you should have bodily harm done to you. Really.
Yeah. But so with config, people were even saying mad stuff like, well, people who get aggressive when they're drunk, they're just aggressive all the time. And the booze just exacerbates it. It's like, no, you don't know how powerful alcohol is. It's a poison. It fucks your brain up. What are you talking about?
On that.
Yeah, like what? That's who you are all the time. Like, go look at all like the fucking crazy shit that happens when people get drunk for like for the first time in their life or whatever, like, or the link between alcohol and violent crime, and these are like all first time offenders. Like, nah, it ain't like that. You're talking shit. It's like once a cheater, always a cheater. It's like that is not wisdom. That is stupidity. That is binary thinking. That is like, listen, I agree. Once you cross the threshold, it gets easier to go back over that threshold, right? Yeah, because you've done it. It's like cheating on your girlfriend for the first time or whatever. Definitely easier the second time, speaking from experience, right? But, you know, doesn't mean you do it all the time. Doesn't mean you do it with everyone. You know what I mean? People are just fucking morons. Like it's so unfathomably stupid, the things that get passed around as prescribed wisdom in esports. There's no three-dimensional people allowed. You cannot have negative traits, positive traits. You cannot be a net positive. You can only be negative if any aspect of your life is negative. That's just how esports treats people. It is worse than any other industry I've seen for that. Like it is crazy how there is no grace given to anybody. And so yeah, mask off as a concept. Last Free Nation's got to be bad, right? They want to insulate themselves from all the bad things we're talking about and still be able to talk about sports and make a living. They're the bad guys.
Yeah.
Not the people that are putting us in that position in the first place, right?
Of course. Well, that's the thing is like, I know Thorin's a big fan of alchemy, and this is how you can transmute that stupidity into humor.
I'm not coming along for the ride on any of his shit on that. Like, I want to make that abundantly clear.
Sure,
like when he starts talking about magic and all, I'm like, listen, I love Alan Moore as well, mate, but I wouldn't want to live like him, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, Thorin, you know, listen, Thorin's a smart dude. He's got some ideas. I don't agree with all of them. That's the beauty of it, right? Like, you know, people assume, by the way, that again, like, oh, if you all stand together, you all think the same, and you all got to be the same dude. And it's like, nah, that ain't that. It's never been like that.
Yeah, I mean that's something that's become a bit scary almost, right? Laur, I don't know, it's Laur or whatever.
Lore.
That's me trying
French,
to butcher it. But she went on Summoning Insight, you know, massive backlash or whatever. And I've you know watched her on a few broadcasts. I don't watch a lot of League, maybe when Worlds rolls around or whatever. And it doesn't seem like there's a, you know, massively controversial bone in her body. So maybe that's a opportunity to go on and, you know, say some opinions about players. And I feel like, you know, while you're talking over this and obviously it was kind of, I think Pronogo really did want to speak about that sort of area and whatnot. But I've thought that was kind of what all this esports and sports is all about. That, you know, a bunch of people come together with differing opinions, different jobs, different incomes, different lifestyle, and none of it really matters. You know, you level the playing field and it's, we all support the same team. And we don't like those people, you know. Some people take that a bit too seriously. Some people just a bit of a, you know, whatever. And you kind of, you have that fun together. You get into the idea of competition. Maybe not even seriously. I don't watch football,
really tribal like that as well, but it's changed now. Like esports is, and that's what's super weird about it, because like back when it was more tribal, it was still more cohesive.
Yeah,
you know, like Dota fans and League of Legends fans, you know, were meant to have a rivalry with each other, but they would still make threads on each other's subreddits saying, hey, the World Championships are here. If you want to come and watch and learn a bit about our game, you can do that. Yeah. But it was way more tribal and more divided. Now esports is more homogenous, and yet everyone's really cordoned off. Like you say, you can't go on you don't go on their podcast. Don't talk to them. Like that's some sort of like endorsement. It's so weird, you know?
Yeah. Do you think that this last Free Nation move is going to leave a little bit more room for something like that? I mean, you're signed on, but the way that
here's the other thing, because this is like probably like unrelated, but I talked about it, and like, listen, I know this podcast just gets downvoted to shit. My face in the thumbnail, your face in the thumbnail. Pro, I've seen what they do to you on Reddit. Right, I've seen the trends. Yeah, oh, you're that guy you talked about Grid that one time. You're bad, so whatever. But the you know, like, listen, I saw like there's some dickhead, and there's a few dickheads now. Like everyone says, all betting is bad now in esports. All betting is bad. Yeah. All betting is bad. It's all the same and it's all bad, right? And so the business is sponsored by an esports crypto betting company, right? Which I've never took a penny from. Which, by the way, I went and looked into them. I vetted them because that I knew the guy that was like making the videos and complaining, and that guy got so much stuff wrong. By the way, he got so much stuff wrong. He said they weren't licensed. They are. I've seen it. So that's coming from me, right? So like, you can choose, you can choose to believe it or not. But like at the end of the day, and then people are going, oh yeah, but like they don't pay out. And then you go and you look at like every mainstream gambling company and you go and look at their reviews, and everyone says that about every gambling company. And in fact, it's a thing in the industry that everybody should know about, that legally, I think in most countries, they're not obligated to give you your winnings. That, if they decide you've broken some rule on the site and they lock you out your account, you're just fucked. There's no like legal recourse. So, and I looked into all of this and I'm just scratching my head going, why are these guys? So ESL, bought by Saudi Arabia, good. And there's nothing you can do about that, apparently. That's good. That's fine. Riot Games, working in close proximity with the Chinese, fine. Fine. Working with gambling companies now is the true evil. And I've seen people saying Richard Lewis is a hypocrite because he's talking about blood money and bad, about blood money and bad regimes owning esports properties, but he's got a betting sponsor. How's that the fucking same? I feel like I just feel like I don't know, maybe I'm high like all the time, like maybe I'm just mentally ill or something, like, but how are they the same? Like it's staggering to read it with my own. I can't believe anyone is so dumb to type this out and think this is a valid point, but they do, and people agree, and dukes to the left, and you're like, well, what's happening? These are not the same things. No gambling company ever threw some motherfucker off a building because they were gay. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? They never locked up a woman for fucking bad tweets for 40 years. They didn't do that. I'm not saying there aren't problems in the gambling industry. I've always aligned myself with, responsible, licensed betting companies that I always vet heavily. And as I said, I don't even make any money off this last Free Nation thing. I've never took a penny out of it. I've never made anything off it. I just do the Horseman because I like doing it. That's it. But again, this is what I mean about being conditioned to attack people. Like, they just fucking, they get some half-baked theory in their brain, and instead of like, are you going to boycott ESL? No, but I will post in every thread where Richard Lewis is mentioned about how he is a fucking hypocrite and a shill, and betting is the worst thing ever. It's like, man, like what has happened to this space? Like, it is occupied by the dumbest fucking people. It really is. So so you can't even, there is no sponsor I can take, evidently. In fact, I remember one time I was doing a stream and I'd got offered the bag for doing a Raid Shadow Legends stream.
Of
right?
course.
Because everyone gets that.
Indeed.
Right?
Rite of passage.
Yeah, right. And I said, oh, like, fuck it, why not, right? Like, I can play that for 4 hours or for 10 grand or whatever the fuck it was. And somebody in the chat started, like, just, like, booting off. Like, oh, there you are. You mask off. You expose yourself. Raid Shadow Legends is owned by this company. And this company just, it's like, they make video games for me. Like, how evil can it be? Like, please, what are we saying here? And, guess, nah, I can't have it. Everyone else can eat, Like the problem is, like, people, they take the energy that's right and then they just apply it to the wrong area. Like, it's actually insane to think that, people are attacking like Monty and Duncan for being sponsored by a crypto betting site that, if anything, is guilty of the same transgressions as almost every other betting site in existence, and that's it. And I'm being attacked, and I don't even do any of it. Like, I'm not even doing the thing you're accusing me of. It's ridiculous. Again, I'm staggered by it. I am staggered that me, right? How could anyone attack me? Me, with the body of work I did, case opening sites, Phantom Lord case, kids casinos, skins gambling, match fixing, all of that. How are you going to say I'm embroiled in some sort of shady gambling conspiracy? Like, how are you typing this? Does your brain not filter it out? It doesn't. Oh, it's insane. So yeah, I want to put that out somewhere. It's mental.
Yeah. I don't know, man. For me, I just feel like it's a broader conversation we've already been going for long enough, but social media just in its current form, I just feel like it can't carry on, you know.
I used to think it was social media, bruv, but it's the thing. I just think it's people.
Yeah, maybe by
Something's
extension.
happened.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like a feedback loop.
Right.
But the level of stupidity the level of hypocrisy and stupidity I'm exposed to on a daily basis is mind-numbing. And people are like, "Well, you just don't look at it." Well, that's my world.
It's hard,
that's where I got to operate there.
I'd love to not be on
Content's
Twitter,
got to go out on Twitter. Yeah. Content's got to go out on Reddit. Content's got to go up on YouTube. Everything's got a comment section because we operate in a world where apparently everyone's just allowed to make these everyone's comments the same. Your opinion's as valid as mine, evidently, even if you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and will never accept that you're wrong, no matter how much evidence is presented to you, because something has happened to your brain. Like, something has happened to your brain. Like, put it this way, I have never lost the ability to admit when I'm wrong, and if someone presents me with evidence of something, change my opinion. I have never lost that. But there's just people now that don't have that mechanism in their head. It's not there. It's literally not there. You can show them, yeah, but you're accusing him of this, but look, here's what he actually did. Here's what he actually said. Here's a recording of it. It doesn't matter. No, but actually it was another time, and and what he meant was, and then it's like, dude, this has got to stop. Like, there was nothing wrong with being wrong on the internet. You have got to, that's step one to admitting you have a problem. Just be wrong once. Try it. Admit you were wrong. Evolve your opinion. Change your opinion a little bit. People can't do it anymore. So it's not even as simple as social media, and it's getting worse. It's getting worse because now everything's 10 seconds long. So now you just get people can't even watch a 10-minute video anymore. People can't sit down for 10 minutes and watch a 10-minute video of like someone's opinion, get some nuance, get some flavor, get some context. Read the headline. That's it.
Yeah.
People say that all the time. I put out a video, it's like 20 minutes talking about someone. And yeah, as you can see, I like to talk. I like to ramble. I got stories. I'll go all over the place. Like, people literally just, like, you 20 minutes and you summed it up in the first 30 seconds. Yeah, maybe I did do a summary in the first 30 seconds, but I added context and nuance and some stories and some other things you might be interested in. If you don't want that, then this isn't for you, is it? So not only are people being like wrong more often and refusing to be right, they're also getting these hyper condensed opinions and incorrect information beamed into their head in 10-second increments so they can be wrong faster than they've ever been wrong before. Fuck me, what are we doing? Turn the internet off. We've destroyed ourselves as a species.
Yeah.
It's my favorite shit test, at least on Reddit, is when you see somebody saying like, Henry G is part of that scam NFT stuff, or the Last Free Nation is sponsored by this scam website. I just, is there any evidence for them not paying out or something untoward happening? And you would be shocked, or you wouldn't be, Richard. It's probably
cold. Yeah, it's probably happened. But
it might have, but they can never cite that. It's cold immediately. No reply. Yeah. 0 replies ever when I ask, do you have any evidence for what you are saying?
It's an interesting one.
There's a betting site in existence that has paid out everyone who ever placed a bet on it, and they didn't lock an account occasionally.
Yeah.
But I would need to know the context of what's happened. And I certainly
But they can't even pass step 1. Yeah. They can't even cite one example of them not doing the payout, which, I mean, you can say, you can add a level of nuance because you've worked with these people or vetted them or whatever. And it's like, oh yeah, well, actually they, there's many reasons why that might happen. And some of them might not even be evil or untoward. They don't even get to that point where I have to start breaking out that level of nuance because they can't even cite one example of it happening to begin with.
Oh, so. It's mental. Like, all of the hoops that you jump through, and this is just to maintain. This is just to exist. It's like, it's just not worth it. It's just the stress and the pressure and the nonsense. It's just not worth it. It is not worth it for what? What I've done and what I was always ahead of the curve on, and I used to tell it to all of my industry friends. I said, build something for yourself, get yourself a little island of sanity, get yourself a YouTube channel, get yourself a community, get yourself a stream, and do you, and just do you. And eventually, over time, you will build up like not just a safety net, but like it's like a sanity preserver. Like, I don't have to ever work a broadcast. I can turn on a stream. I can get between 1,000, 2,000 people watching me. You know, super generous community, sub to me all the time. An old community, a community that's not just filled with Zoomers. You know, many of them old, some of them older than me. I got 50-year-olds and 60-year-olds and 45-year-olds in my community, right? And they come and they watch and they listen and they support. And that's all I need. I've got that. I don't even mind if I end up like D-Man streaming to fucking 20 people. I don't mind. I'm all right with it. Had my time in the sun, made my money. But if I wanted to be like these people who have to do the dance that you have to do, and to be in the public eye like that every day, fuck that. Fuck that for a game of soldiers. There is not millions in the bank don't make it worth it. Like, you either have to be some sort of psychopath, like a lot of these influencers are, and I'm not. Although people are going to listen to this and say this is Exhibit A, or you are not yourself. You know, you're just fake. You're living a lie, and I won't do that neither. So yeah, like telling you, fuck this. You can't have nothing. You're not allowed anything.
Content creators going their own way, Scriv. That's what I say.
Yeah, maybe. I think we might need a few more subs first, but
yeah, you should come up with a good name. Like, I don't know, like something like Last Free Nation.
Something like it.
Yeah. Con, you must have some ideas.
I love
you've
names,
got to have
dude.
plenty. Yeah.
I spend a long time thinking about names in general. I feel like, you know, again, you want to talk about Thorin's wacky ideas. One of them is that if you name something, there's an element where maybe that's like what was that Oprah's book? Was it The Wish or something? What was it? Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
No idea.
She was like,
The Wish, Secret.
The Secret, yeah. Where it's like, if you just will it into existence. There is some part where a lot of the time
do with G2. Everybody saw it on the stream. I said they were losing the game of Legion. I willed it into existence.
There it is.
Exactly.
It does exist, guys. You can make things happen.
Look at this. There's a guy in the chat. Are you really arguing that skin camera for children in video games is not that bad? And it's like, bro, no one said that. That's in your mind. You are deranged. You are deranged, and you won't accept it, will you? You will not accept that. Nobody said that. I'm telling you now, nobody said that. Go back, play the tape. Nobody said it. You heard it. You put it in your brain. You did that to yourself. It's so crazy. Anyway,
don't worry. As soon as you started going off on him, he was like, "Richard is so great." Hanging out.
Well. So honestly, I don't know what's going. That just adds to it because it's like, what is even?
So what do I can't see what I mean. I can't do this. I can't do this anymore, guys.
It is just like, I don't really, because I've scrolled up a little bit. I don't think there's anyone in the chat talking about that.
No,
so he must be on about us. And then Richard always adds to a podcast.
He's always got a point.
When he lights me the fuck up. I love it. No, I've got a lot of masochists in the community like that, you know what I mean? But it's like, bro, come on, no one's arguing that, please. Why would I say that? Why would, if you know me and you're a fan of me, who was out there? Who was out there doing all the stuff about the skins gambling for years? Please think. Just think. That's mental.
Just think.
Oh, God. Yeah.
See,
there you go.
Scrib, I did say we need some live chat interaction.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, we've got look, man, we did here's the relevant episode or whatever yesterday, and I think we'll get a few out back to back, and then we've had a nice broad topic. Is esports doomed? Is that maybe the title of this one?
You could swap and esports in that. If esports is doomed, probably.
Is Richard depressed would be a much better. But make that the title for the show. Is Richard depressed? And it's just like we'll get all the armchair shrinks in. What's wrong with Richard? Yeah? Well, I reckon if he actually went to the gym and lost a bit of weight, he would improve his mindset loads.
If he just didn't believe in it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
The,
he should.
the
If he
classic
just,
of.
yeah, just do that. Just do that.
Can Richard stop saying he's going to retire from all of esports when actually what he's saying is he's retiring from one podcast?
Yeah, I know.
Richard, stop saying this thing that he didn't say in the first place.
Esports out my life. Why are you still here? Like, give me a minute. Like, you know what I mean? Can I pack my bags, guys. Fucking hell. Oh, mate, honestly. The world is just so mental. I don't know, maybe I'm not equipped for it. I want the log cabin, but unfortunately, all of my shit, all of my money's all tied up in not being in a fucking log cabin. I fucked it up. I need a book deal. Please, just someone. No publishers are watching this, but please come get me. I'll write you the best books. I'll do 3 on esports, and then I'll write you some fiction. I've got loads of that. I've got loads of that ready to go. I've had many a novel rejection already. Right, I've still got the letters to prove it. Just come and get me, and then I can just live off residuals in a log cabin. Never have to go on the internet. Never have to come back to esports. I want to live in a log cabin in Finland. Fuck this.
There you go. Hey, you got a community of people in Finland, so that makes total sense. Yeah,
that's my fallback game plan. I think you kind of need one maybe if you're in something like this. Not log cabin.
Free Nation host
I reckon something
he's
like
gonna be leading a cult in Finland.
Yeah, Squiv living in my log cabin in fucking Finland.
No, I've not decided where. You've maybe figured that part out.
On Squiv.
Yeah,
it's cold outside.
Yeah, listen, mate. When I've caught up, when I've learned my guitar, I'm teaching myself guitar. It's either esports needs to take off, or I get good enough at the blues, and then I'm just fucking into a dive bar, So.
Yeah, mate. I used to be in a band, and let me tell you, that's so esports, there. You know what I mean? You do your set, right? You do your set, and then the barman goes, "Well, no, we didn't get enough people through the door, so you don't get any money," and all of that shit. Oh, I used to love that. You have to, your fucking car breaks down, the guy bringing the PA system. Oh. What a life that was.
But
being in a punk band.
It's kind of, you have that outlet at the end of it that at least you've got to create some music, and I suppose that's kind of where it starts to miss a bit in I've still got time to work on my craft and all this kind of stuff, but
you're at the start of the journey, mate. You're like, you're going to learn, and that's great. You learn it, and then you're going to write your first songs, and then you're going to play them in front of people and be nervous, and then next thing you're going to be on tour and you're on heroin. Oh, it's going to be great. You got it all to look forward to, mate. You're going to be on that skag, and it's going to be. Listen, I'm happy. I'm happy you're at the start of something new and interesting.
Yeah,
despite this podcast and its themes, and the fact that I've essentially treated this like a therapy session and you guys have barely got a word in.
Hey, self-awareness is the first step, I suppose.
Dude, I was already been drinking. So you were only getting one version of me tonight.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, I do remember what it was like. I do remember when things were fun, and I do remember how exciting it is to be at the start of something. And that's what everyone should do. You should find something that, like Bukowski said, find someone you love and let it kill you.
There you go.
There you go. Not a bad spot to end on, I reckon. They do indeed sound like closing words, but yes, I mean, to all the people that have watched live, thank you very much. It's been, you bring a lively chat, you bring a lot of chatter going on and a bit of content from it as well, which is always good. But I mean, that's going to do it for this episode, of course.
I wait for everything to be clipped out of context on this one.
Well, indeed. Yeah, I don't know. Did you turn them off before we started, Prodogo, or did you just...
whatever. Who gives a fuck, man?
But either way, thank you very much for watching, everybody, and we'll catch you, of course, in the next one.
You're going to love this video right here. You're going to love it. Check it out right now.